page 24, line 25, Sergeant Mokhane testified as follows. We asked him where he was on 26 October 2014, proceeds on page 25, when the deceased was killed. He did not know about the day, then it says indistinct. He claimed that he knows about this case because it was all over the news. It's just a slight difference. He didn't say he heard it on radio. He claimed the testimony of Sergeant Mokhane is he claimed that he knows about this case because it was all over the news.
Yes, Mr. Mnisi.
As it pleases the court, I think it's news and radio are just two peas in a pond. When one speaks of the news, first thing that comes into the mind is the radio or maybe the television. I don't think it really makes much of a difference, man. It's a question of semantic, though, because radio and news, as I'm saying, are just two peas in a pond. They go together, and television as well. When I said they had it over the radio, it means it was all over the news. It was it's synonymous to somebody saying, I heard it in the media. Now, specifically, if you want to know specifically what part of the media was that, you have to ask it, was it in the radio, was it in the newspapers, was it in television? Did you read it on Netflix or TikTok and all those other things, man? But in broader terms, we are not far from apart. So what I put to the witness and what the state is just indicated to the court, my lord, are not far from apart.
But you're talking two different things. Didn't you say, when you quote this, you say Mr. Mnisi said Sergeant Mokhane told her about the death of Senzo?
Yes, that is accused number 2, yes.
Yeah, that's, now, are you with me? That's what I thought he's correcting.
Yes.
No, my lord, it's about whether I said he had it on the, according to Sergeant Mokhane, whether according to Sergeant Mokhane, accused told him that he had the news of the death of Senzo on the 26th of October 2014 from the radio or on the news. And then I put to the witness that, according to Advocate Baloyi, I put it to the witness that Sergeant Mokhane told to this court that this Mr. Ntanzi told him that he heard about the death of Senzo from the radio.
Okay, I will check it myself.
When Mokhane said he heard it from, he told him that he heard it from the news. So I'm saying news and the radio. It's not like East and West.
I see. Okay.
Are they East and West, madam? News and radio.
Are you talking about two different things?
They go together.
No.
Yes.
He says,
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Baloyi, you put it to Brigadier Geninda
Yes, madam.
that Sergeant Mokhane
Yes.
told your client, accused two.
No. Accused two, madam.
Yeah.
Not my client.
Accused
Yes.
two, sorry. Accused two.
Yes.
About the death of Senzo.
Yes.
Is that not how you said it was put?
No.
Sir?
No, the proposition, my lord, was that Sergeant Mokhane would have testified that he asked accused number 2
Where was he?
what he knows about the death of Mr. Senzo Meyiwa,
Okay.
and that according to the proposition that Advocate Nisi put to Brigadier Geninda, that accused number 2 said that he heard about it on radio.
Okay, fine.
But the record says when he asked him where he was on the 26th of October 2014, when the deceased was killed, accused number 2 said he claimed that he knows about this case because it was all over the news.
Okay. Yes, Mr.
This is the one. This is the court, my lord. Good morning again, Brigadier.
Good morning, Advocate Minister.
Thank you. Now, before we proceed on our last aspect, I just want us to take a journey back a few miles. You told the court that the reason why you did not use this form XX that was exhibited at court was because there were no such instructions that you should use it from the state. Number 2, if my memory serves me well, you indicated that there were no specific directives that when one interviews a suspect or a person in relation to a particular case, this specific form must be used, and that on top of that, there are various forms that have been used at the police station, to which you also made an offer that you could bring some of those forms here at court so that we can go through or see ourselves that what you say is correct, that there were various forms that are used.
Before you respond, be reminded that they're still under oath.
Yes, noted, my lord. Morning. My lord, so let me start with the last part. Yes, I did offer that I can bring different forms, warning statements, SAP, 3M, which I got the feeling that it was not accepted. That's the first part.
Mangizoqala ke la kulona ogcina ke umbuzo bengishilo ke ukuthi ke ngalekelela ke ukuthi ngize ke nama form ahlukeneke la enkantolo ukutshengisa ke lokho bengikhuluma ngako ama SAP 3M ama warning statement, kodwa ke engikutholile ke ngithole ke ukuthi noma ngizwe ukuthi ke akwamukelekile lokho.
And I do confirm, my lord, that I said they are different. There is no prescribed. So the correct context was that there is no one specific warning form in terms of a booklet, like the one that Advocate Minister referred me to. There are different ones which are currently in use. And this exercise of bringing them, my lord, was to show that this is not the only warning form that is available in the SAPS.
Nokuthi ke ngishilo ukuthi ke kunama form ahlukahlukeneke asetshenziswayo ke uma kuza ke kuyitatimende lezixwayiso noma ke ama warning statement, ingakho ke bengishilo ukuthi ke ngingeza nawo ukukhombisa nokutshengisa ukuthi ke ama police station ke ngokwahlukana akusetshenziswa iform eyodwa noma le abekhuluma ngayo yena ke Advocate Minister.
Secondly, my lord, I did not say when it comes to the interview of accused 2 specifically that I chose not to use this form. I was responding to the questions that were flowing from the form that I was referred to say this specific form says there must be an interaction between the police and the prosecution, and therefore after that you go and then obtain the warning statement. So it was flowing in that aspect, but insofar as my interaction with accused 2, I said I didn't complete the form. I made it very clear as early as last year, my lord, that there was no warning statement completed at that time when I interviewed him for the first time. However, at a later stage, a warning statement was taken from him.
Kodwa ke futhi ke ukuthi umbuzo noma uthi ke ngenze ngendlela thizeni ke uma kufikelela ke na ke umsola wesibili ke naloko ngikuphendulile ke ukuthi ke kwakunganyaka ondluleke ngisho ukuthi ke leyo form angiyisebenzisanga ke kuyena noma ke angaze ngiyigcwaliseke nokuthi ngiyibhale, kodwa kwamuva ke sengiphinde ngiba nenhlolo khona naye ke ila khona ke istatement noma ke iwarning statement ngayithatha kuyena.
And then last, thirdly, my lord, is that indeed I did say that when police conduct interviews, I even referred to the mere interviews that are conducted by the police when they conduct arrest on the street, my lord. I even said at that stage, be it as detective members or uniform members, they will never have such a form. They will conduct an interview with the suspect in question. They may follow up certain things that he said, which may lead to the discovery of evidence. then that form will not be available only when the person is detained and now is being prepared to be processed, for court, or there's that directive by the NPA, then the form gets then completed.
Nokuthi ke uma kuukuthi ke umuntu uhlangana ke namaphoyisa ke noma ke amaphoyisa akhulumisana naye noma kuukuthi ama detectives laba bagqoke iuniform ke uma bekhulumisana naye ke ayikho iform lapho ke akukho la khona ke izogcwaliswa khona ke kodwa kamuva ke uma sekuukuthi manje umuntu kufanele ayovalelwa ke itoxini uselungiselela futhi ukuthi ayobingelela imantshi nokuthi sewukhona ke umlomo obuya kubonaka beshushisi ila khona ke manje leyo form leyo uzothi ingene khona ke.
Now, my lord, a practical example, which is something that has been discovered or disclosed to the defense. In particular, I'll go specifically to the one that relates to Advocate Mnisi's line, so that he will understand that this example.
If I want examples, I'll request you to give examples. I don't mind if you're going to speak about accused number 3. We will come and deal with this case. But then, speaking about accused number 3, when I get into his case, I specifically asked you the question that I asked you. Now, what is the necessity of you to try and give an example?
Because it relates to the question of whether this form can be used at the initial part of the interview, my lord. And I wanted to be specific because there is an incident where there was an interview. No form was completed to the defense.
Mr. Kilinda, I'm saying, Mr. Kilinda, can you please not argue with me? If there's a point that you want to argue, request to argue it through the state. The state is here to present your case on your behalf to the court. You don't argue with me because there are so many things that I'm going to raise with you and not be able to answer them in terms of argument. That is the procedure here at court. I don't have to argue with the witness, and the witness don't have to argue with the counsel. If there's an argument that needs to be put before court, it should be through the state. Do you understand?
That's a good place, my lord. I think that is unfair. He's trying to elaborate, draw a parallel between the question that is being asked and what happened in this case, just to try and demonstrate the answer. There's nothing wrong. We submit that there's nothing wrong with it, my lord. He should be entitled to elaborate on his answer, just to draw parallel to explain his point.
Let's hear you again.
Yes, my lord. So my lord, I'm saying in what we've discovered, just to illustrate this point clearly and with factual evidence. Now we've disclosed Cleveland case 96 of 2015. Advocate Mnisi is aware of it. In that docket, it is clear if you go with, I won't go to the merits, but I'm just going to focus on this warning form, warning statement, which is similar to the booklet that Advocate Mnisi is showing us, my lord. That
that is irrelevant, my lord. You're not talking about Cleveland case here. That is irrelevant. Now the court wants to hear irrelevant evidence.
It's not irrelevant because it's
No,
talking
it
about
is irrelevant. We're speaking about Cleveland case, which is not part of this proceeding.
It's not irrelevant because he's talking about a form which he testified to say that there is no single form applicable. There are several examples of these forms.
Thank you.
And then he wants to give you an example which he quotes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Now, my lord, I'm saying in that which we've disclosed, my lord, I'm referring it to because I know we've disclosed it to the defense. Accused, it's alleged in that form in the docket. Accused 3 was interviewed. He came into contact with the police on the 9th of February 2015, where he interacted with the police, and subsequently it's alleged that firearm and ammunition was found. If you look at the activities...
That is irrelevant, my brother. That is irrelevant. Now, Mr. Kilinda says it is alleged that he was interviewed. Now he's talking about hearsay. That's the irrelevant part of it that I'm speaking about, my lord. And the court said, let him explain.
Yeah, ask any questions, Mr. Yes. I will ask him when it's being taken through cross-examination by all of you. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. So, Brigadier Kilinda, you're basically saying that the usage of this form XX starts to play a role when a suspect is being prepared to go and appear before a magistrate. In other words, the first time that these forms gets used, it's when the suspect, after having been interviewed in so many ways, first time that this form gets to be used is when you are now preparing to take him to court.
No, my lord, that's not what I said. And can I ask, my lord, that Mr. Mnisi give me an indulgence to explain my answers, because my answers relate as to how he asked me the question. You see, like the part that is putting now is not what I said. And when I elaborate what I've said, it will look like now I'm venturing into issues he didn't ask. Can I ask him just to be patient, because I'm only going to motivate or explain insofar as what he asked me, my lord, not out of that terrain. So if he can just be patient with me as I am. When he puts questions to me, I don't interject. But it seems there's this intention to confine. You see, my lord, this is what I'm talking about, my lord. I'm not done saying my part. Mr. Mnisi is interjecting. I'm not so sure how far we can take this. My lord, I've explained. I've said, when this form gets completed, the first part to say it's when the suspect or a person is processed before the appearances. That's that part. But I've also indicated that when there's a directive from the prosecutor, when the prosecutor says to you during the course of the investigation, go and obtain a warning statement or this explanation from this person. This is now before a decision is taken to prosecute a person. Then the form will be completed. So I didn't only refer to one part, which is the assertion I'm being given now, my lord.
Engikushilo ke mina ukuthi uma ke le form ke isisetshenziswa ke nanjengoba manje mina ke nginikezwa nje okodwa kodwa mina ngisho okubili ke ukuthi ilapho na ke kulungiselela khona ke umsola sekuwukuthi ke manje ngaphambi kokuthi ke ayo ke enkantolo. Okwesibili ke uma kuwukuthi ke kukhona ke okubuya noma okushiwo umshushisi ke ukuthi hamba uyothola lokhu kulomuntu noma ke ilapho ke manje leso statement noma leyo warning statement leyo izongena khona.
Thank you. Now, let me get you right. The time at which this form, according to you, is to be used is when the prosecutor says or gives instructions that you need to go, that the police needs to go and take a warning statement from the suspect. That is instance number one. Instance number two, it is used when the suspect is being prepared or being processed to go to court. Did I get you right there?
Yes, those two, or when the police, stately, my lord, are of the view that now they will want to present the matter to the prosecution. That is in an instance where you've conducted an investigation, like in this instance, my lord, specifically to this matter. I've completed the form before, in relation to the accused, before the matter was presented to the DPP. So those are the instances that when the matter is presented, then the DPP then will have an insight of what the accused or the suspects are saying in relation to this matter.
Iloko kokubili ngikushilo uma welungiselela ukuthi ezeyobingelela ke imanje nokuthi ke nabashushu sebeshilo ukuthi bangafisa ukuthi bathole lokhu. Lokwesithathu ke nokuthi ke manje uma usuthi ke icala leli ke noma ke khona kuzokubhala nanjengoba nami ngenzake kule cala leli ubhaleke ubhalela kubona ke beshushisi noma ukuthi ke usiyokwethula ke icala leli kubona ke.
So according to you, those are the instances at which these forms then comes into play or is being used.
Yeah, but I'm not saying, my lord, is the only one. You evaluate each situation on its merit. But these ones, yes, are what you will actually look into. Because like I said, the third one, it's something that I embarked on. The other one is in preparation, before the appearances, because an accused person or a suspect can't appear before the form is completed. The third one that I referred to is when the prosecutor asks you to do that. But obviously each matter varies, my lord.
Yebo iloko ke engikushoyo ke kodwa awukwazi nje ukuthi incike nje kuloko ukuthi ikona lokho kokuthatha kuphela ke ngoba ke ubheka ke isimo kodwa njengoba nami ke ngenza ke lana ngenza ngalendlela engenza ngayo nokuthi futhi ke umsolwa akakwazi ke ukuthi ngayobingelela ke imantshi leyo form leyo ingeka agcwaliswa.
Thank you. Is it further shown that you also told the court that there are no specific directives with regard to which form should be used, because as you mentioned, there are so various forms at various police stations which they can use. Is that what you said?
No, that's not what I said. That's not what I said. Absolutely
did you
not.
say?
I've said, my lord, there is no prescribed, there is no specific form. The instruction that a warning statement must be used is there, but there is no specific prescription that says this form, for example, the booklet that Advocate Nisi gave to me, is the only form that must be used when it relates to the warning statement. So I'm referring to the form, not that there is no directive that the warning statement must be used. It's not what I've said.
Angishongo ukuthi cha abukho okulawulayo noma ke okuwumthetho ukuthi akwenziwe lokhu. Yebo ukhona umthetho osho wona ukuthi i-warning statement kufanele ithathwe. Kodwa engakhulumi noma engasho ukuthi leya form angitshengise yona Advocate Mnisi ukuthi iyona kuphela noma yile ekufanele ukuthi kube iyona esetshenziswayo.
Mr. Kininda, Brigadier Kininda, understand my question. I am asking you, according to you, there is no specific instruction or a directive that says that it is only this form that must be used when an interview with a suspect must be conducted.
Yeah, I understood your question differently, my lord, but my answer is simple, my lord, as I've said.
Mr. Kininda,
Can I finish my...
Before you answer, do you understand my question? Before you answer, do you understand my question?
My lord, can I be given an opportunity to answer?
Do you understand my question, Mr. Kininda, yes or no? So that I can explain it or I can repeat it. Because I don't want you to understand something, to answer something that I did not say. Because I've just heard you now that you are repeating my question in a way that I did not ask it.
Can the witness be allowed to answer? How can it be said? How can it be asked whether he understands the question before he has even ventured a response? The witness should first be given the opportunity to give an answer.
Let me repeat my question, Mr. Kininda, Brigadier Kininda. According to you, there is no specific policy or a directive or instruction which says that this particular form that we are using is not the only form that should be used in an instances where there is an interview with a suspect.
My lord, I thought I was answering that. According to the national instruction, maybe let me be specific, not according to me. I don't own the SAPS, my lord. According to the national instruction, and I can refer to that if that is needed. We can adjourn, or during tea time and refer to the specific standing order. There is no prescribed or a specific warning statement to say this particular warning statement is the only one that you can use when you take a warning statement. That's what I've said before, my lord. It's what I've been saying before. And if my recollection, my lord, previously last year I was asked by Advocate Baloyi to assist with our legal services to provide such a standing order that confirms that there is no prescribed, and I did that, my lord. So we're doing the same exercise again.
Mina ke siyena ke oku noma ke isiphoyisa sona ke esam kodwa ke kuna kubizwa ngokuthi ke i-national order ekuyiyona ke ekhipha ke imithetho. Ngingalekelela ngeza nawo ke unyaka odlule sikwenzile ke lokho sichaza kona ke lokho ukuthi ke akukho nje kuthizeni okuchaza ukuthi yilena kuphela iform ekufanele ukuthi kube yiyona esetshenziswa i-warning statement.
So you're saying according to a national instruction, because it do not own SAPS, there is an indication, or in terms of the national instruction that you're referring to, there's an indication that this should not be the form that should be used, as there are other forms as well that can be used when an interview with a suspect is done.
No, but that's not what I'm saying, my lord. I'm being quoted out of context. I did not say the national instruction says that form must not be used. That's not what I've said. I'm saying the national instruction is saying this is not, there is no prescribed form. There is no specific form in the warning statements that can be used. In other words, there is no, I don't know how to explain it, my lord. There is no form where the instruction says This is the only form that you must use when you take a warning statement. Not that that form must not be used. It's not what I've said, my lord.
Angishongo ukuthi leyana action-ke kufanele ingasetshenziswa kodwa ngithi akukho la kusho khona ukuthi yile noma kuneform thizeni ekuyiyona kuphela ekufanele ukuthi isetshenziswe.
Thank you, Brigadier. And you said you made that national instruction available to the state.
Yes, I was asked then by the state during that time, and I engaged with our legal services. It was communicated to the state advocate, my lord.
Ngiceliwe-ke kunyaka ondlule uyena-ke umshushisi ukuthi-ke angikhulume-ke nalabo-ke bezomthetho emaphoyiseni ukuthi-ke basizeke ngakwenza-ke lokho kunyaka ondlule.
My question is, you then made available that national instruction to the state.
But that's what I said, my lord. I just answered that.
Yilokho engiqeda ukuphendula-ke manje ngibuza kona ukuthi-ke ngaba ningawunika yini umbuso.
As it pleases the court, my lord, I'm going to request through the court that the state assist us or give us a copy of that national instruction. Thank you, my lord. And further on, Brigadier Kiminda, I note that when you made an offer to make available those other forms that might be used in an interview with the suspect, I said to you, that might not be necessary. But subsequent to the discussion that we had now and the making availability of that national instruction, if you don't mind, and with the leave of the court, I'm going to request you to make available those forms to us, the defense, if you can. Thank you. Let's pay your offer.
My lord, as we said by the leave of the court, if the court asked me to do that lately, I offered initially and it was rejected. Now I'm being asked to do it again. Lately I'll do it, my lord. I offered on my own, precisely to remove this suspicion and this misunderstanding. That's what I was trying to avoid. Now we are here again. But yes, my lord, I will assist. By tomorrow, I'll have such forms available, my lord.
Bekuyinto-ke ebize nami-ke bengishilo-ke ukuthi ngalekelela-ke kodwa-ke kwanqatshelwa-ke kodwa manje sesibuyela khona lapho kodwa uma kuwukuthi inkantolo ithi-ke angize nawo-ke lawo mafomu ngizokwenza-ke lokho kusasa.
Thank you. Now let us proceed from where we ended on Friday. Now you told this court that you did not know how Mr. Mchayiko get to know about accused number 2's incarceration. So
That is correct, my lord.
So iqiniso ngishilo ukuthi-ke angazi ukuthi umjiyako wazi kanjani ukuthi umsolo wesibili wayeboshiwe.
And you further told this court that you received a call from the police station wherein they informed you that there's an attorney who wants to consult with accused number 2. So, and that was Mr. Chiako. And you quickly ran to the police station and you found Mr. Chiako.
That is correct, my lord.
Ngasho nokuthi-ke ngathola ucingo olubuye police station ukuthi kwakunommeli owayelapho-ke impela-ke ngaphuthuma ngaya khona police station ngamthola elapho Mr. Mchiyako.
And did you ask him how he knew about the fact that accused person has been arrested, accused number 2?
No, my lord. There's what you call attorney-client privilege. I can't venture into that. It's not my terrain. There's no way I would have asked him that, my lord.
Akukho la ngangambuza khona-ke ukuthi wakwazi kanjani ukuthi wayeboshiwe umsolo wesibili khona-ke lokho ukuthi-ke uphakathi kommeli kanye futhi naloyo ammele-ke ngangekhe ngiwubuze loyo mbuzo loyo.
And furthermore, my lord, it is the accused's constitutional rights or any suspect to appoint or engage any attorney that he so chooses. So it's not for me to interrogate that unless if during the time when I was giving him his constitutional rights, he says to me, I need an attorney, a legal representative through the state's, at the state's course. Then that's the only part where I will play the assistance of getting the legal aid board insofar as contacting him. Thereafter, my presence would have been, would have been out, my lord. In this instance, I was not involved and there was no need for me to be involved.
Kuyilungelo lakhe-ke umsola noma lowo-ke uboshiwe ukuthi-ke ayiqokele ummeli ozomsiza noma-ke ozommela uma kwakuwukuthi-ke wacela mina-ke noma asho ukuthi-ke udinga ummeli wombuso kwakula engangizomsiza khona-ke ukuthi nje atholeke ummeli loyo bese-ke kuyaphela-ke okwami lapho.
Thank you. The testimony before court, my understanding of it is that for the better part of his arrest, or immediately after his arrest, accused number 2 has spent most of the time with Mahane Sergeant Mohane and Mabena. Do I understand that in a context in which it should be understood?
I'm not sure, perhaps when the question is saying the better part. My understanding of the situation, he was arrested by the two members.
Yes.
And he was kept at the police station. Sergeant Mohane and Mabena were not stationed at those police stations where he was kept. So perhaps I don't understand, because if then you ask me where did he spend most of the time, I will say at the police station where he was detained, my lord. But perhaps I don't understand the context in which the question is being asked.
Mhlampe ke angizwa kahle ukuthi umbuzo ubuzwa kanjani uma kuthiwa ke isikhathi esiningi esichitha naye ke uSergeant Mabena kanye noSergeant Mohane ngoba ke ebegcinwa ke noma bevalelwa ke epolice station bona ke abekho kulezo police station lezo. Mhlampe ke umbuzo lo engawuzwa kahle.
Thank you. Now, did you at any point receive a report from Mr. Mohane, another team member, that there was a request that came from accused number 2 to them to make a phone call to his legal representative?
No, I don't think that was communicated. I have no recollection of that, my lord.
Angikhumbuli ke lokho noma ngikhumbula ngitshelwa ukuthi ke kwakunesicelo esenziwa uyena ke umsolo kulamaphoyisa ke ukuthi ke ufisa ukuthi axhumane nomneli.
Thank you. And just to confirm that, that is also not the testimony of Mr. Mohane. He never told Sergeant Mohane, he never told this court about that incident. Thank you.
Understood, my lord.
Now, is there an instance in you trying to collaborate, whatever that you could have been collaborating, in which you found that accused number 2 requested at the police station or at the various police stations where he was housed an indulgence to make a call to call his legal representative?
So the answer, my lord, is no, and that's the first part. To answer it specifically. Secondly, the corroboration I was referring to relates to Exhibit HH and JJ. What is contained there, not the circumstances of his arrest and where he was kept. It's in relation to Exhibit HH and JJ, my lord, specifically.
Examine kwakho ukuthi uhlanganiseke lokho okuhlanganisa ke ingaba wathola yini ukuthi ke umsolo wesibili wacela ke ukuthi axhumane nommeli wakhe. Cha, ngizophinda ngisho ke kodwa ke uba bengikhuluma ngokuthi ke ngihlanganiseke ngangikhuluma ke ngezitatimende lezi uHH kanye ke noJJ, ngingakhulumi ke ngezimo mala nokuboshwa kwakhe noma izimo aboshwa phansi kwazo.
The only time, my lord, where I had to look at the circumstances surrounding his detention and where he was kept, it's when I was making arrangements to get the OB, the occurrence book, the ACP 14s, and the ACP 14 insofar as his detention, my lord, and the condition in which he was detained. That was in preparation of the case and subsequently for the trial within trial. So those are the time. But the issue of the attaining and where are instructions, how, like I said, my lord, I felt it's not a space that I should get into, my lord.
Kodwa la khona ke engabheka khona ke manje izimo mayelana nokuboshwa kwakhe noma ke oyivalelwe ngaphansi kwazo ke ila engangisengibheka khona noma ngifuna khona ke incwadi ke ama SAP 13 nama occurrence book lokho ke kodwa ke ukuhlangene nommeli wakhe ngacabanga nje ukuthi ke ayisikona ke la ekufanele ngiye khona lapho.
Thank you. Now, when you went through those occurrence books from the police station and other registers, did you ever find a hint that accused number 2, there was a point at which he approached those the guys at the police station and requested them to make a call to his attorney? That should have been described, so if it ever happened.
Well, yes, it's supposed to be, my lord. So
Yes.
so the answer is no, and the book that was used for legal services, my lord, for legal consultation, because the legal visits are documented in a different book than your occurrence book. That book, my lord, we did not succeed to find. So I didn't get a confirmation of that. The only book that we've got is the occurrence book. However, I can confirm, my lord, because I observed the section 205, and in the phone that was found in possession, or alleged to be found in possession of accused 2, there is a communication with Mr. Mjiako's number there with accused 2 on a certain date, my lord, and we can go into those records if perhaps there's a misunderstanding in that part.
Kodwa ke uma ke manje ke usubheka ke khona yini la owathola khona ke ukuthi ke kwaba khona ukuxhumana phakathi kwakho umsola kanye futhi ke nommeli ikhona ke incwadi esetshenziswayo ke la khona ke kuza abameli noma umuntu ezobona ummeli wakhe akusetshenziswa ke ama-Facebook noma khona ke incwadi esetshenziswayo kodwa leyo ncwadi ke siphumelelanga ekuthini siyitholeke kodwa uma ke ngingaqhubeka ke ngithi ke uma kubawona ke ama-section 205 kuwona umakhalekhukhwini owatholakala kuyena umsola wesibili la kwabonakala khona ke ukuthi wakhona uxhumana aye nakho kanye naye umjiyako.
Thank you, Brigadier. Yeah, it's very nice, sir. When was that call made, according to your analysis of that information?
My lord, I don't remember the specific details. Like I said, it's in the section 205. So I know that my attention was drawn into that when the analyst was analyzing to say this number and this communication is there. I think it's a please call me, if I recall correctly, my lord, to the attorney or vice versa. But my recollection, I think it was a please call me sent from accused 2 number to the attorney's number, and I can confirm that, my lord, obviously if specifics are needed.
Ukuthi ke kwenzeka nini ke lokho kwafanele ngibhekeke kodwa ngiyazi nje ukuthi uxhumana kwakukhona ke nokuthi ke umcwaningi wangikhombisa ke lokho ukuthi ke noma umsolo wesibili okuyena wathumela please call me kummeli kodwa kwakhona nje ukuxhumana okwakukhona.
That number, which accused number 2 allegedly sent a please call me to, which is now associated with Mjiyako, who confirmed that that was Mr. Mjiyako's number?
I think it's listed on the what do you call this, my lord, LPC or some of the documents that we have. That's where we got the number from. It's there. It's not in dispute that it's Mr. Mjiyako's number, my lord, in the documents that are available.
Manje ke inamba leyo ke okuthiwa iyona ke ekwathunyelwa kuyona please call me ubani ke owayiqinisekisa ukuthi inamba kaMjiyako leyo ngicabanga ukuthi khona ke nakwincwadi ke le LPC akusiyona ke into ephikwayo noma ephikiswayo ke ukuthi inamba yakhe uMjiyako.
Or if not the LPC, my lord, his company's letter, but I know it appears in those documents, that cell phone number.
Noma ke kuyona ke incwadi yenkampani yakhe kodwa ngiyazi nje ukuthi leyo number ikhona lapho.
So you're speaking, you're not sure, you're taking a guess.
That's a good piece, my lord. All this evidence has been placed on record. I don't know why this witness is now expected out of his memory to remember those details. If counsel is interested in that information, the evidence is there. Reference can be made to the witness. It cannot be expected of this witness now to rehash those details out of his memory.
That is the purpose of a cross-examination, to test the reliability and the credibility of a witness. He's just mentioned here that he's not so sure. That is basically speculation. I cannot be circumscribed in instances where I am endeavoring to test the credibility and the reliability of the testimony of a witness to say that if I am interested in a particular information, then where should I go? I don't cross-examine myself. I am cross-examining this witness. Thank you, madam. I don't know if there's a follow-up to my response.
Now, like we said, the evidence is on record. This witness is now expected to, out of his memory, to remember what is on record. We are saying if counsel is interested in there, the record is there, they get the running transcript, he can refer to the evidence. Now, this witness is saying, I'm not sure whether the confirmation came as a result of a letter from the LPC or his practice letterhead. Now, he's being told that he's speculating. The evidence is there. It cannot be expected of this witness to rehash that out of his memory.
Thank you, madam. Now you are saying you are not sure as to when that please call me thing from accused number 2 was made to this alleged Mr. Mjiako, not so?
I don't remember the exact date,
Yes.
my lord. There's a difference of not being sure as whether what I'm saying could be true or not. I know it was made. I know it's there. What I'm not certain of is the date. Secondly, my lord, with regards to the location of the number, when I'm saying I'm not sure, I'm not saying I'm not sure that there is such a confirmation. I'm simply saying I'm not able to place this confirmation either at the LPC or his company's letterhead. But I know the number is there. That of I'm certain, my lord.
Engikushoyo lana ukuthi ke ngiyazi ukuthi ke inamba leyo ikhona ke inamba yakhe ke umjiyakho ukuthi nje kunale incwadi ke incwadi le ebuya ke eLPC noma kunale ebuya futhi ke kuyona ke icompany yakhe angazi nje ukuthi yipi kuze kodwa ngiyazi ukuthi kwenye yalezo incwadi lezo inamba leyo ikhona ibhaliwe lapho.
That is exactly what I was warning about, Mr. Kininda, Brigadier Kininda, earlier on. That if you don't understand my question, can you please request me to repeat it? I am saying to you, we are not sure as to when that call was made, not whether this number is reflected in the books of LPC or what, but the period, the time at which this call was made, you are not sure. That is my question.
As a please, my lord. We will, and we don't want to interfere with Advocate Mrs. cross-examination. The evidence is on record. We called Ms. Faithiningam. She handed in the cell phone records. The Section 205s are there. Why should we be debating this point when the evidence is on record? We have it in black and white. We should be referring to that evidence instead of, expecting of Brigadier Kininda now to confirm something that is already on record.
It's about credibility and reliability, Mario. There is nothing wrong in my question. If I ask this witness and ask him, he is not sure, it's simple for him to say, yes, I am not sure, or I am sure. This is the time at which that call was made. I don't know what is the state's worry about it, Mario. But nonetheless, let us proceed. Thank you. Brigadier, now this is more of a legal aspect. When an attorney says, I am lawfully authorized to represent a person, there are documents that must have been signed by the person that he claims to be representing. You may not know this. This is what I'm telling you. Those are those documents are the power of attorney and a letter of instruction. Now that is just by way of a background. And do you follow? And do you understand?
My lord, I do follow, I understand,
Thank you.
and I know of these forms. I am aware. Contrary to what Advocate Nisi is saying, I am aware that instructions will be given and they will be written down, my lord.
Incwadi ke ukhuluma ngazo ukuthi ke kunencwadi ke ekufanele zibe khona ke noma igcwaliswe ke uma kuwukuthi umsolo wakhe uqoka ummeli ngiyazazi ke lezo ncwadi lezo okhuluma ngazo.
Now, I know that I do not represent Mr. Tansi, but I have been following the proceedings here in court. And the following questions would not be based on a specific instruction that come from Mr. Tansi, but will be based on what I have heard, which is already on record, and what transpired here at court. And I'm doing this solely because I'm an officer of the court trying to assist this court to come to an equitable finding. Do you understand?
I understand, my lord.
Thank you. Now, and I don't want to put the cart before the horses, but you would realize that up to this point where we are, there's been no letter of authority, a letter of representation and a power of attorney that has been made available to the court as confirmation that Mr. Msinyati, no. Mr. Mchiyako was lawfully representing accused number 2. Would you agree with that?
So, my lord, firstly,
Before Brigadier Gininda answers, there's no such obligation on the state or anyone else except the client to produce such proof. The client is the only one who would have, it's between client and attorney. The client is the only one who would have such document. How can it now be that proposition be put to Brigadier Gininda when this is attorney-client privilege? These are not documents that are in the public domain.
As it is the court, my lord, I think the state misunderstands my trajectory. In instances where the client says, I do not know that legal representation, he basically saying, I do not know him. It then becomes incumbent upon the state to come and say, if they want to rely on the assertion that you are represented by this and this person, it therefore becomes incumbent upon the state to come and say, you know what, or make an application to the court and say, can the court please grant us the indulgence to piece the attorney and client thing? Yes, a privilege. And the court will grant. But nonetheless, my lord, nonetheless.
Inviolable constitutional right of a client.
May the court please just listen to what I'm saying, my lord, up to its finality. Yes. The client says, I do not know this gentleman. He never represented me. I never signed any document. Yes. Thank you, my lord.
Can say that.
We are together, my lord. Thank you.
And as a court, please, my lord, the state did, as we've repeatedly said, lay the evidence of Ms. Fathilingham, and I just want to quote from the record of the 26th of June 2024,
No, but that
page
is
11.
procedural, my lord. Mr. Valoyi will have the indulgence to re-examine. This is my rostrum. This is my time now. If he feels that there is something that I've said which is not compatible with what the record says, he will have the opportunity to go back to that aspect in re-examination. He cannot just, in the midst of me being busy with my cross-examination, and then start to refer the court to some sections
I
in the
don't know what
record.
he wants to refer the court to. So you only will allow him to say what he wants
No,
to say?
I already know, my lord.
Oh, you already know?
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Because he has already mentioned that there's a testimony of Mrs. Vitlingham, which has got to do with some cell phone, I think,
I
communication.
thought he's quoting from the record.
Yes,
Oh, I see.
but that is what I'm saying, my lord.
Okay,
This,
fine.
now, this is my time to
Okay,
cross-examine.
fine, let's go on.
If he wants to raise it, re-exam is coming.
Okay.
Thank you, my lord. It's a pity that my flow gets interrupted here now and again. But nonetheless, I remain steadfast.
So, my lord, what I wanted to say
Yes.
in response to that is that, firstly, as I indicated, my understanding, and I respect those boundaries, there's attorney-client privilege. It is not for me to detect as to who the accused or suspect must appoint and why did I appoint that person. That's the first part.
Okokuqala ngiyakuhlonipha-ke okuphakathi kommeli kanye nalowo ammele ukuyena-ke umsolwa noma lowo oboshiwe ukuthi ubani amqokayo-ke okokuqala lokho.
And it is not for me to request the written instructions or mandate from the suspect to say, show me the proof that you know I've never done that, my lord.
akukho kumina-ke ukuthi ngithi kumsolwa-ke noma lowo oboshiwe-ke ukuthi ngicela ungikhombiseke incwadi noma-ke okubhaliwe-ke okuyisiqinisekiso sokuthi-ke ngempela ugqoke yena-ke lo mmeli angikaze ngikwenze lokho.
And that, my lord, in other words, it continues. It's not an isolated incident when it comes to Mr. Mjiako. So after Mr. Mjiako, there was Mr. Tobane, and then later Advocate Tifo. Subsequent to them, then there was Mr. Ramsipili. None of these legal representatives have ever approached and say, give me the proof that you have a legal mandate to this person. In fact, my lord, at some stage, both Mr. Ramsipili and Mr. Tobane were before court, and it was not clear as to whose mandate is on. I never said now, because there's this confusion that you are here, you said you have a mandate from the family, and this one still thinks he's got a mandate. Give me proof as to how you got this mandate. And I'm referring to Mr. Ramsipile specifically. I never asked that, my lord, because it's the constitutional right for the accused person to appoint whoever he so pleases and to terminate whatever mandate he wants to terminate.
Lokhu-ke akukho nje mayelana ngaye-ke uMjeko kuphela-ke kwenzeka-ke lokhu ngizokhuluma ngaye-ke uMr. Ramsipile, kwabe kukhona futhi naye-ke uMr. Thobani, futhi-ke singekho-ke isiqiniseko omunye-ke umndeni ungigqokile-ke angikaze nakubona-ke ngiye kubona-ke ngithi ngoba-ke kukhona-ke manje lokhu ngabaza okukhona-ke ngicela ubona incwadi-ke ethi ngempela ubani okuyena oqokiwe ekufanele angikaze ngikwenze lokho, angikhulumi njengomJeko kuphela.
That's my response, my lord.
Thank you, sir. Brigadier Kinina. The circumstances are totally different. We are talking here about instance where accused says, I do not know that man. I never gave him mandate to come represent me. With these latter instances that you're referring to, Tobane, Mr. Ramusipili, and who's the other one? Mr. Tefu. There are no such allegations that are coming from accused, but nonetheless, the circumstances are totally different.
No, I disagree, my lord. Yes, I forgot, my lord, Mr. Ngomezulu as well. But also, my lord, I wanted to say I disagree with what Advocate Mnisi is saying. And I dealt with this part during my evidence during the trial within trial,
yes,
where I said when accused 2 specifically appeared in court, he was legally represented by Mr. Mjiako. And we even went through the records or the transcript of the proceedings of the 27th of October. There was no way where he said, I don't know this advocate or this counsel, my lord. It's there. We dealt with this part.
Ukhuluma ngezimo-ke ezahlukeneke lana ngoba lapho kulabo babalayo-ke uMr. Ramsipile, uThobane, u-Advocate uTefo, akukho la kunomsolwa khona-ke owathi cha angibazi-ke labameli, kodwa lana-ke kumJeko sikhuluma ngomsolwa-ke othi cha angimazi lo mmeli angikaze ngimqoke-ke mina. Akusilona iqiniso lelo ngoba sikhulumile-ke lokhu kunala umsolwa ayovela-ke phambi kwemanje wamelwa uyena-ke uMjeko, akukho la khona-ke enkantolo athi khona cha akusiyena ummeli wami lo angimazi.
As it please the court, my lord. Now, as I indicated earlier on, that I hold no specific instruction in this regard, but this is, I am saying this in view of the evidence that is already on record. I'm discerning this from the testimony that is already on record. As I'm saying, I hold no specific instructions from accused in that regard. I think that should be put beyond doubt, my lord. That I'm not taking over the representation of Mr. Ntanzi. Thank you. Let us proceed. Now, you are being requested by a commissioner. By the way, who's the commissioner that you said requested you to take over this case, because it was now, it's been years that it has things have not been happening in this case? Sithole.
Yeah, I'm not so sure how I put the instruction that he gave me, my lord, but it was the former National Commissioner, General Sithole.
Thank you.
National Commissioner.
Angisakhumbula ukuthi ngitheni-ke uma ngikusho-ke lokho kodwa ngishilo-ke ukuthi kwakuyena-ke uGeneral uSithole owathi-ke owangiqopha ukuthi-ke angiqhubeke ngalelo cala.
Thank you. General Sithole says to you, Brigadier Gininda, we seated with a bit of an embarrassment on our desk here because there's an incident that happened in 2014 and up until now it's 2019. There's nothing that seems to be happening. Can you please come and assist? And as a diligent officer of the South African Police Services, you said, no, it's fine. I am up to the task. Not so. Just to give a very brief summary. I'm not saying those are the exact words which were used.
Yeah, yes, my lord, but the summary is also not accurate. So the interaction, firstly, let's deal with the year accurately, was 2018 because I signed for the docket on the 12th of November 2018. That's the first part.
Okokuqala-ke nje isifinyezo lesi-ke esenziwe-ke asiqondile-ke ngoba-ke asiqale ngonyaka-ke kwakungasiyena-ke u-2019 uma-ke uGeneral Khehla Sithole ekhuluma nami-ke mayelana naleli cala kwakungo-2018 ngoba uma ngiqala-ke ukuthi ngilisayindele idokoti kwakungeyi-12 kaNovember 2018.
Secondly, my lord, it was a mandate. Police officers are given instructions, not that you have a view to say, yeah, I can do it or no, I can't do it. It was a mandate from the National Commissioners to say they have decided to appoint me to lead a team, not Brigadier Gininda, to say you will work with this team under this unit, the cold case unit. So it was myself, and I dealt with this aspect, my lord, to say there was Lieutenant Colonel Ramohala, Warrant Officer Makubo, and Lieutenant Colonel Buteles, who were seconded to assist in so far as this matter is concerned. So it was not an isolated thing to say it is you who must now deal with this matter, go and assemble your team. I was not given that mandate. I was given an instruction. This is the matter that has been, the police has been seized with, which is unresolved. We are appointing you to lead the team. You will work with these two other members that are seconded under the cold case unit, my lord. That's how it came about.
Okwenzeka-ke lana ukuthi-ke manje-ke kase kuphuma-ke izwi-ke noma senitshelwa-ke ukuthi-ke aba-National Office bathathe isinqumo-ke sokuthi mina ngizohola ithimba, akukuthi kwakuzoba yimina kuphela-ke bese mina ngiyahamba-ke ngiyoyiqokela elami ithimba-ke kwathiwa-ke kuzoba wena uBrigadier Gininda, uRamuhala, uMakhubo kanye futhi-ke noButhelezi, mina-ke ngizohola lelo thimba lelo ukuthi-ke kusetshenzwe kulona leli cala leli.
And yes, my lord, I complied with that instruction.
Ngabe senami ngiyavuma-ke kuloko engakutshela.
Thank you. Brigadier, before I forget, there's an issue that has been pending here that relates to Exhibit XX, that warning form statement. I think we will revisit that issue and other issues that will arise thereon or thereat, as and when you will be making available those other forms of the warning statements and stuff like that. I just wanted us to be clear on that one, that it has not been finalized, it's just put in abeyance. Thank you.
Understood, my lord.
Thank you. Then after having assembled a team that you had to work up with, you started to investigate. And then fortuitously, you stumbled upon Constable Zungu.
Yeah, in essence, my lord.
Yes.
Yebo-ke ithimba leli seliqokiwe-ke siphenyake sabe yebo-ke sesihlangana naye-ke noma finyelela kuyena-ke uConstable Zungu.
Now, having stumbled across Constable Zungu then gives you information which was a lead to what which then was a lead to what is now happening here at court, not so?
I suppose, my lord.
Thank you.
I suppose, but the proper sequence, my lord, like I've said, and I've dealt with this part, it refers to his father. The father comes on board, Mr. Absalom Zungu, and then a statement is then taken, which initially leads to 1 and 2, and then from 2, then the other accused are then picked up in terms of the name 3, 4, 5, my lord.
Bese ke manje senikhulumise noma senihlangane naye ke uZungu waholela lokho ke kuloko ke manje esibhekene nako ke la phambi kwenkantolo ngicabanga kanjalo kodwa ke ukulandelelana kokwenzeka kwezinto ke kungendlela bengisho ngayo ukuthi ke kwaba ubaba wakhe uConstable Zungu uMr Absolom Zungu kwaqala ke lapho ke kwakhomba ke kumsolo wokuqala kanye nowesibili emuva kwalokho kwasekulandela ke u3 4 kanye no5.
Thank you. Now, on several occasions, you had told this court that in terms of your investigation of this case, the conspiracy to assassinate the deceased Senzo Meyiwa, with regard to the planning and everything, took place at the hostel, not so?
Yes, my lord.
Kumahlandla amaningi ke ushilo ke ukuthi ke ukuhlanganyela ke ukuthi ke umkondo ube wodwa ke noma ke kukhulunyisane ke ukuthi ke khanjwe ke kuyobulawa yena ke uSenzo kwenzeka lokho ehostel yebo kuyiqiniso.
Thank you. Now, the planners, who were the planners of this plot?
My lord, what we have, and we have in terms of the statements that we touch base on, we have it in the confession of accused 2, is the accused before court that we can place in the hostel. The name of Ms. Kelly Kumalo as a trigger point is mentioned, but she's not at the hostel. So the only people that are placed at Basutini hostel is the 5 accused, my lord.
Manje ke uma kukhulunywa ke ngabantu okuyibona ke abahlala phansi ke base behlanganyela ke bekhuluma ke ngeinhlelo ke noma behlela ke kona lokho kwakuwobani lokho sikhulumile ngabo ke ukuthi ke abantu ababehlangene ke noma bese hostel ke kwakuyibona abasola abahlanu phambi kwenkantolo liyavela ke igama lakhe uMiss Kelly Khumalo kodwa yena ke wayengekho ke khona lapho ehostel abantu bese hostel abasola labo bahlanu phambi kwenkantolo.
Thank you. When was this planned?
But my lord, we have statements, and unless then Advocate Mnisi wants me to go there, because then it will go to other people that are not before court, who indicates who said what at what stage. If that is the question, and I'm expected to answer it, then I'll go to those specifics. But then I'll have to refer to the statement so that there's no dispute.
Manje kwakuwobani ke abahleli noma abantu ke ekuyibona ke abakuhlela ke lokho uma ke ngibuza loyo mbuzo ke kuzofanele ke siye manje kuyitatimende ke itatimende zabantu abangekho ke la phambi kwalenkantolo ekuyibona ke abakushoyo lokho.
So you are saying that the planning took place at the hostel, and you are basing that on number 1, on the confession, on the alleged confession that was found from accused number 2.
That's correct, my lord. But also statements of 1 or 2 individuals who makes reference to the events of that day, my lord, when the incident took place.
Manje ke uthi ke lokho kushoyo ukuthi kwahlelwa ke lokho futhi kuhlelwa khona noma kwakhulunywa ke ngako kwenzeka ehostel uthi ke lokho ukuthatha ke kwi statement lesi ekuthiwa isona ke sokugonyuluka sakhe umsolo wesibili yebo kanye futhi ke nomuntu oyedwa noma ababili ke nabo ke abashoyo ke ukuthi ke lokho kwenzeka ke futhi noma kwenzeka kuphi nendawo.
Thank you. Now, subsequent to the information that you received from Constable Zungu, you proceeded with your investigations, got what you got, and ultimately accused number 3 got to be part of those people who were fingered and eventually arrested and charged with the commission of these offenses, not so?
It is so, my lord.
Manje uyasho-ke ukuthi kwakhulunyiswana naye-ke uZungu uphenyo lwaqhubeka-ke lokho kwaholela-ke ekuthini-ke umsola wesithathu kube omunye wabantu-ke abakhonjwayo-ke ukuthi babe yingxenye-ke yokwenziwa kwalokhu yebo kuyiqiniso.
Just for the record, it's not Constable Zungu, it's Mr. Absalom Zungu that provided the information. Counsel is referring to information obtained from Constable Zungu. That is not what the witnesses said.
No, I'm talking about Constable Zungu. I do not know Absalom Zungu. Constable Zungu was here testifying. I haven't referred to Absalom Zungu. And this witness has actually said yes, he has always been saying yes, correct. So I'm not so sure what then the state's worry about me referring to Constable Zungu. I'm not so sure if I may proceed. Oh, I thought the state would want to make a follow-up. Okay, no, thank you, madam. Now, accused number 2 also gets arrested because of the then information that you received from Constable Zungu and got charged as part of the plotters to kill Senzo Meyiwa, not so?
Yes, my lord.
Thank you.
Yes, my lord. Yes, but let me put this because I don't want you to go incorrectly. When I say yes, Constable Zungu, it's in the sense that Constable Zungu is the first person who came to the office of the National Commissioner alone. So he brought the information, but then mentions his father, who then came before. From the time he arrived to the time his father came, there wasn't really much that we were doing because there was no statement. Only on the 17th of November. 2018, then the father came and a statement then kicked in. This is now of Mr. Absalom Zungu. The one of Constable Zungu, my lord, came into existence last year, my lord, and I dealt with this part and I indicated that it came into existence because as I was investigating, or we were investigating, his name keep on cropping up as the person who was also present in this gathering at the hostel on the day of the incident. That's how it came about. So all I'm saying is that the sequence of events, it is not that Constable Zungu is the one who gave us indication to say 1 and 2. He only brought information to say, I have this information that implicates the 2 people based on the information I received from my father. And I wanted to see the father, my lord. And that was done on the 17th of November, as I've said. I've indicated, my lord, that we met. There was a struggle to find the father, but eventually on the 13th of November 2018, we met with Constable Zungu, with Brigadier Perumal, and that is where it was confirmed that the father is willing to make a statement. Arrangements were made on the 17th of November. The father came and disposed the statement. This is where now the citing of 1 and 2 was then confirmed under oath, and then we moved accordingly, my lord.
Manje-ke selenziwe-ke uphenyo emuva kokuthi kukhulunyiswane-ke naye-ke uZungu uyaboshwa-ke umsolwa-ke wesibili-ke ngokuthi-ke uyingxenye-ke yalabo ekuyibona-ke abahlela lokho. Yebo, ngithi yebo-ke, kodwa-ke uma ngithi yebo-ke ngiyafuna-ke ukuthi ngichaze-ke ukuthi kwenzeka kanjani-ke ukuthi-ke yebo uConstable Zungu umuntu wokuqala oweza-ke, kodwa-ke awasitshela kona ayasitshela nje ukuthi-ke lokhu ayesitshela kona yinto ayithola kubaba wakhe, kwase kuwukuthi-ke manje kudingeka ukuthi kuze-ke ubaba wakhe, impela-ke ubaba wakhe weza-ke uma ubaba wakhe eza kwakungazo i-17 zika November ngo-2018, yena-ke uZungu esakhe statement esatholakala kunyaka ondlule, kodwa kwakuyi-statement sikababa wakhe esaholela-ke ekuthini kuboshwe yena-ke umsolwa wokuqala kanye nowesibili, bese kuthi-ke i-13 zika November 2018 ila esihlangana khona-ke naye uZungu kanye noBrigadier Peruman esesitshela-ke ukuthi ngempela ubaba wakhe uyimisele ukuthi eze.
Thank you. Now let's go a bit back. Now, before the arrest of accused number 3, it is common cause that this case was initially investigated by other members of the South African police. Would you take this court through the process of you acquiring that initial case docket from them? Or let me put it this way. Did you have sight of the case docket that was initially investigated by the first team?
Yes, my lord. So, if I understand correctly, and Advocate Minister will correct me if perhaps I'm misunderstanding him,
Yes.
the docket that is before court, the docket that I inherited on the 18th of November 2018, is the same docket that was investigated by the previous investigator. So, I inherited that docket and carried on with the investigation.
Ingabe ke siyazi ke ukuthi kwakunethimba ke elaliphenya ngaphambi kokuthi ke uqoqwe wena ke ingaba ke idokodo leleko walithola ke kulo thimba yini yebo idokodo leli ke ekuyilona phambi kwenkantolo yilona leli engalithola ke kulabo ababekhona ke bephenya ngaphambi kokuthi uqoqwe mina.
Thank you. We are together there. Now, subsequent to the receipt of the case docket, is it correct that then you went through that case docket to find out if there is something or things or statements or form of information in that case docket which would assist you to carry out the mandate that came from General Sithole?
So the initial part, my lord, as I indicated, was first to establish, because that's what we're seized with, to establish as to whether they were intruders or no intruders. That was a primary task that, for me, that was a kick-off point, because there was, as I've said earlier, my lord, this assertion or allegations that there may have been no intruders. Once that part was cleared on my mind, that indeed, and based on the fact that I've articulated to this court, my lord, that there were intruders, then the process of trying to find the so-called perpetrators was then embarked upon, my lord.
Okokuqala ke bengikushilo ke lokho ngaphambilini ukuthi ke kwakuwukubheka ke noma ke futhi kwakuyikona ke esasikutsheliwe ke lokho ukuthi ke asiqiniseke noma sithola ke ukuthi babe khona yini abangena ke endlini ngoba ke kwakuwukuthi ke kufuneka ukwazi ke ukuthi ngempela kwangena abantu noma cha yilapho ke ngaqala khona ke uma ke manje sekutholakele ke lokho noma sengitholile ukuthi ngempela ke bakhona abantu abangena kwakumanje ke ukuthola ke labo bantu labo ekuyibona abakwenza lokho.
And that exercise, my lord, was extended to the other members as well, to say collectively, but individually, not sitting together so that we don't influence each other. We should actually look into the docket individually and then come up with the views based on evidence as to whether there were intruders or no intruders, and then work the investigation according to that, my lord. In other words, the drafting of the investigation plan would have been motivated by the facts of whether there were no intruders or there were intruders.
Futhi ke nokuthi ke manje sikhulumisane ke siyithimba ukuthi ke umuntu futhi ke azenzeleke singahlanganyeli ke lokho ukuthi ke omunye manje bese thola umthelela komunye ukuthi ke siqiniseke noma sithola ukuthi ngempela babe khona yini abantu abangena bese ukuthi manje ke iplan ke yalo uphenyo ke izohamba ke ngokwaloko esikutholile.
Yes, I'm done, my lord, sorry.
Thank you, sir. So amongst others, the reason why you ultimately had to conclude that they were indeed intruders, it was because you went through the statements of the witnesses who were in the house, not so?
No, not really. As I've said, my lord, the people who were in the house were questionable to me. So I didn't really want to rely on. I wanted to rely on the circumstances around them to see if there's credence or there's evidence to support what is being alleged. So what I relied on was the statements of the neighbors. If we talk about statements, my lord, was the reliance of the cell phone, which I've indicated, my lord, that it was picked up at a different tower when everyone else could be accounted for at the hospital. It was the issue of the DNA, my lord, where I said there was a DNA which excluded the people who were in the house, because one would have expected that if there were no intruders, that DNA that was found in the house should have been read into the people who were in the house. But there was a DNA that was picked up there which excluded everyone in the house. What it indicated, there was a donor except the people who were in the house. So I looked at the statements of the neighbors and I tried to look at the forensic evidence in the form of the cell phone tower in relation to the phone that was alleged that it was robbed, the movement of Mr. Longe's Twala insofar as the tracking system of how it went, my lord, and the DNA, because those for me were reliable, were credible. That was credible evidence. But in addition, then I looked at the neighbors, which in my view, my lord, as I said, I couldn't find reasons to believe that these people could be influenced. Then yes, indeed, what those people said, I then matched it with what the people were saying in house. But my focus was not on them, because at that stage, I was not sure as to whether, what they were saying was the truth or not at the beginning, my lord.
Ekuqaleni-ke kwakhona-ke naba-ke ngangingancikanga kwiy'tatimende zabantu ababesendlini-ke ngoba-ke kwakukhona-ke ukusola-ke ngakumina-ke futhi-ke ngingazi-ke ukuthi noma lokho abakushoyo kuyiqiniso noma cha. Ngabheka-ke iy'tatimende zabomakhelwane-ke ngoba ngithola-ke noma-ke kunento ethi-ke bona-ke akukho la noma-ke okunomthelela kubona-ke nokubheka-ke futhi-ke ithawa nokuthi-ke i-cellphone noma-ke umakhalekhukhwini lo ekuthiwa uwona-ke thathwa-ke khona lapho ukuthi wawukuphi-ke yena-ke uMr Longwethwala manje-ke base ngihlanganisa-ke nalokhu okuyikona-ke okushiwo abantu ababesendlini-ke nokubheka futhi-ke omakhelwane, kodwa hayi ukuthi nganginqike kulaba ababesendlini. Bese futhi-ke sikhuluma ngalo-ke ulibofuzo noma-ke i-DNA.
Brigadier, my question was, amongst others, you were assisted by the statements that you found in the docket, whose statement of the witnesses were in the house, to come to the conclusion that they were indeed intruders. That was my question.
Yeah, but my lord, that's what I was answering, that it was not really that, because those statements were questionable. It was only the corroboration at the later stage, the corroboration when I was now satisfied that these people outside, in addition to the evidence that I spoke about, that the scientific evidence, my lord, what these people are saying in bits and pieces corroborates with what these people inside the house were looking at. But for me to come to a conclusion or to a view that they were indeed intruders, I wasn't guided by the statements that were in the house, because the people who were in the house at that stage, my lord, were questionable. I was not sure whether what they were saying was the truth or not. So I wanted to be informed by reliable sort of like evidence or statements that at least I can count on, my lord, to say these people have no reason to lie. But yes, once that perception or understanding was formed, I then looked at what was contained inside the house in terms of the statements that were made, which then made me find a corroboration with what other people were saying outside, my lord.
Kodwa-ke kuwona-ke lo mbuzo engikuphendulayo ukuthi cha ngangingancikile-ke kuloko noma kwiy'tatimende zabantu ababesendlini-ke ngoba-ke mina kwakukhona-ke ungabazi okwakukhona-ke mayelana nabantu ababesendlini ukuthi lokho abakushoyo kuyiqiniso noma cha. Ingakho-ke ngisho-ke ukuthi ngase ngibheka-ke manje iy'tatimende zomakhelwane ukuthi bona-ke bathini. Kamuva-ke uma sengikuhlanganisa-ke ngathola ukuthi impela lokhu abakushoyo abantu abasendlini ngempela-ke nabo omakhelwane basho khona lokho ukuthi ngizothola-ke ukuthi ngempela bakhona abantu abangena noma cha.
Are you done with your explanation?
I'm done. The other part that I looked at, my lord, was the ballistic. I didn't mention it, which is forensic as well, that I looked at, my lord.
Okunye engakushongo-ke engakhulumanga ngakho-ke ubufakazi-ke obuphathelene nebhangi phecelezi-ke ama-ballistic.
Yes, my lord. I'm done, my lord.
Thank you. Now, you've just mentioned or indicated in your explanation that the statements of the people who were in the house were questionable. Can you explain how questionable were they and why do you say they were questionable?
I'm saying, my lord, they were questionable in relation to what I was seized with at the beginning, the fact-finding mission. Not that I read the statement and I said these statements are not the truth. I'm saying at the beginning it was a fact-finding mission, my lord, of establishing whether the people who were inside the house are telling the truth when they say they were intruders or they're actually lying. Because there was this cloud hanging around them, my lord, I didn't want to be contaminated by what they are saying. I wanted to rely on more reliable evidence around them. So the questionability, it's in that instance, my lord, not that I was saying what X and Y is saying is actually not correct. It was simply my view to say, because there's a cloud around these people, let me park them. Let me look at the preliminary investigations around these individuals, including, my lord, the first responding officers. I didn't touch base on them, Matebula and Mteto, those people, to say when they arrive at the scene, what first response or report was given to them. So it was to establish whether there's credence in what the people who were in the house were saying or not. So So the unreliability is insofar as that, not what they said, my lord.
Uma ngithi ke kwakukhona ke uba nemibuzo ke noma ke khona kungabaza ke mayelana nabantu ababesendlini, angisho ukuthi ke uma kuukuthi ke othize washo lokhu ngangithi mina ke akulona ke iqiniso lokhu, ngoba ke ngaleso sikhathi leso ke kwakuwukuthola iqiniso ukuthi ngempela kwenzekani ke ukubheka. Ngiyathi ke manje ngibahoqiseke laba ke ngibheke obunye ubufakazi ke, ingakho ngikhuluma ngabo ke omakhelwane. Okunye futhi ke ngakushilo ilamaphoyisa ke afika aqala ke kwindawo yesigameko, uMathebula kanye noMthetho, ukuthi lokho abakutshelwa yiba abantu laba besendlini ukuthi kuyahlangana yini ke nalokho. Ingakho ngisho ukuthi ke eqaleni kwakuwukuthola iqiniso ukuthi kwenzekani.
Yes, my lord.
Are you done?
Yes, I'm done, my lord.
Now, what is it that you found in their statements as you went through them, if you did, that made you to come and say that their statements were questionable?
My lord, I thought I answered that. I thought I dealt with it just now, that it wasn't insofar as what they were saying. I've answered that, my lord, that it was in relation to the fact-finding mission, whether they were intruders or not the analysis of what they were saying. I was not there. It was simply saying, these people, there's a cloud around them, that they may be lying, because that was the essence of what was being said. Because if there were no intruders, my lord, and yet the statements are saying they were intruders, the inference that one can draw without a shadow of a doubt is that these people are lying. So my mission, or rather my first point of departure, my lord, which I felt was important for the investigation team, was for us to be certain whether we are pursuing the people who were inside the house insofar as this matter is concerned, or we are looking for intruders. Hence I took the view, my view, that I'm going to ignore what these people who are inside the house are saying and look at objective evidence. And that is where now your forensics evidence comes in, your DNA, your ballistics, the AVL that I spoke about, my lord, the cell phone locations, in addition to the neighbors, because I wanted to be guided by that preliminary report, my lord, including the first responders, the call that came through, before the first responder came in. So it was based on that. So when I say the people who were inside the house, they were issued their statement, I'm not saying I read and found difficulties. I wanted to park them and be informed or guided by objective evidence, my lord, so to say.
Uma ngikhuluma ke ngabantu laba basendlini ngithi ke kwakukhona ke umbuzo ke noma ke ungabaza ke engikushoyo ukuthi ke kwakunaleli fuke la ekuthiwa khona ke noma ekucabangela kakhona ukuthi labantu kungenzeka ukuthi baqamba amanga ke manje ke kwakuwukubheka ke ukuthi lokho abakushoyo kuyiqiniso babe khona yini abantu abangena lapho ke endlini. Ingakho ngisho ke ukuthi ke ngathi ke angibekeke lokho bakobo ngimeke ngaloko bona ke abakushoyo. Ingakho ngikhulumile ngobufakazi bama AVL, ama cell phone locations kanye namaphoyisa oqala ekuyiwona afika ke lapho. Kwakuhlanganisa ke ukuthi ke laba basendlini basho lokho, ingaba abanye abantu ke manje ke amaphoyisa oqala afika lapho atshelwani wona khulumani ama cell phone kanye futhi ke nayo iAVL, hayi ukuthi ngangithi lokho ababekusho kwistatement zabo babeqamba amanga.
Sorry, my lord, when I say EVL, I'm actually referring to the tracking system in Mr. Long's Twala, just to use the right chronology of the words, my lord.
Uma ke ngikhuluma ngayo AVL ngisho ngayo ke ukutracka noma ke ukulandela ke i-tracking system mayelana naye ke uMr. Long wetwala.
Yes, I'm done.
Despite that long winding answer, you made it very clear, you said it very clear, that the statements of the people who were in the house who witnessed this incident were questionable. Now my question is very pertinent. What is it that you found in your statement when you went through them to make you say that their statements were questionable?
I think the witnesses explained at least on 3 occasions as to why he said that he elaborated. I don't know why he's been now asked the same question now for, I think, the 3rd or 4th time.
Yeah, 15 minutes. Or at the chambers?
No, at the funeral.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's good. Can you walk?
He says he feels better now.
Ah, okay. Yes, Mr. Minister.
As it is the court. I think the last question that I had was to the witness. What is it that was in the statement of the witnesses who were in the house which made you to say that their statements were questionable and there was an objection? And then I think soon after the objection, then we were to adjourn for a short adjournment, for a short break. I'm not so sure whether should I then proceed from there.
Should I answer? I'm not sure. He's asking the court, yes.
We waiting for the directive from the court. I'm asking the court whether
Yes,
should I then proceed from there or not,
that's how it is.
Yeah, so proceed.
as it please the court. And then immediately after saying, Brigadier, that the statements of those people who were in the house were questionable, you went on to say you were not sure whether they were telling the truth or not. Now, back to the main question. What is it that you found in their statements which made you to say that the statements were questionable and that you were not sure whether they were telling the truth or not?
My Lord, I've answered this question and I'll answer it again. I did not read the statement and find questionable utterances in the statement. I simply said there was an allegation, and I'll try to explain it again, my Lord. There was this allegation that seems to suggest that there were no intruders, which would have meant that the people who were in the house, when they say they were intruders, you can't sugarcoat it, my Lord. It simply will mean they were misleading when they were saying that. That was the inference that I drew, at least myself. So when I say the statements were questionable, it is in that regard, not on the context that were contained. My view was that because there seems to be a dark cloud, and I'm repeating this part, my Lord, regarding the people who were in the house, let me park their statements and try and look at objective evidence to find either evidence that supports that there were people in the house or that discredits that part. That is in that regard, my Lord. And I didn't say there was something that I read and out of that then I cancel or find things that were not reliable. That's not what I've said, my Lord.
Engikushilo ngizokuphinda ke lokhu ngoba lo mbuzo lana nguphendulileke ukuthi ke ngoba ke kwakunale insolo lezi ezazithi ke cha babengekho abantu abangena ngaleli langa laphana endlini. Lokho ke akukho ukuthi ke ungakulungiselela ke uma ukusho uzokusha nje njengoba kunjalo ukusho ukuthi ke manje uma abantu ababesendlini bethi kunabantu abangena uma kunalezi insolo lezi lokho kusho ukuthi ke bayakhohlisa ke noma baqamba amanga ke labo bantu. Yingakho ke ngathi ke lokho abakushoyo bona angeke ngimeke ke ngibheke obunye ubufakazi ukuthi kukhona yini ubufakazi obuhambisana nalento abayishoyo ukuthi ngempela bakhona abantu abangena, hayi ukuthi ngafunda abakushoyo ngase ngithi cha la baqamba amanga bayingasikona lokho kodwa ngenxa yeinsolo ezazikhona.
Yes, that's my answer, my Lord.
You know, without laboring this point, I'm going to ask it for the last time. Why do you say their statements were questionable?
My Lord, I've answered again. And I don't know how many times I've said this question. And I've dealt with this, my Lord, even during my evidence in chief, that there was a cold case analysis. I had to analyze. I've explained it. This is not a new answer, my Lord. I've explained that the first point of departure was to find a direction as to whether they were intruders or not in order to formulate the investigation plan. In other words, we are pursuing the people who are in the house or the alleged perpetrators. There was no something untoward that I found in the statement. I'm simply saying this part was questionable, and the other part, my Lord, that I referred to when I said long way, I think I dealt with this part, that even what made me to look at his vehicle movement, his cell phone, is because in this allegation, it was said that he was a possible shooter. So I needed to see if I can place him together with the others, or at least with a phone that went to a different direction in the event that he was a shooter. So I even used the term, my lord, that it was a fact-finding mission, not that I've analyzed each and every statement and found that it was concerning or untruth. I've never said that even in my evidence in chief, my lord.
Uphendule lo mbuzo ngizophendula ke futhi ukuthi lana bangasikona ngoba ke kunalezi insolo ezazikhona ke okunye futhi na ingakho ngikhulumile nangaye uLongwe ukuthi ke ezinye insolo zazithi ke uLongwe uyena ke owadubula kwakubheka ukuthi nanjengoba khona kunalo makhalekhukhwini ke owahamba kolunye uhlangothi ukuthi kwakungaqhuba khona yini ukuthi ke ngumhlanganiso noma ke naye atholakala kuleyo ndawo makhalekhukhwini awaye kuyona ke ingakho ngishilo ukuthi ke inhloso kwakuwukuthola iqiniso kwaye futhi ke kwakufanele nokuthi ke ngicwaningeke noma ke ubufakazi ke ukuze ngizokwazi ukuthi ke ngibe nale plan enginayo yokuthi ngiqhubeke ngalo uphenyo.
So if perhaps, my lord, my response is understood to be saying, when I read their statements, this is now the people who are in the house, I found it unreliable or unquestionable. That's not what I meant. I simply said because there was this cloud, this allegation that there were no intruders, I parked them because I felt if I look there and rely on that, I may be contaminated in an answer that I need to find as to whether they were intruders or not.
Futhi ke uma kuukuthi impendulo yami izwakaleke ngenye indlela ke mina ke uma bengithi ke bekukhona ke ungabazo khona ke bengithi ke ngoba ke manje kunalokhu okukhulunywayo noma le insolo ekhulunywayo ke angeke ngimeke ukuthi ke ngibheke ukuthi bona bathini kodwa ke ngibheke nakolunye ke futhi uhlangothi ngoba uma ngizobheka kubona ke kuphela ke ngenzeka ke ukuthi ke kube nomthelela obakhona ke ingakho sengibheke nakolunye uhlangothi noma istatement zabanye.
That's my answer, my lord.
Thank you. Now, having gone through the statement of the witnesses of the people who were in the house, is there a time when you went to interview them regarding the content of their statements that you found in the docket that you inherited?
So to understand, my lord, is this now after I've formed a decision that they were intruders and now running with the investigation? I just want to understand the question proper. This question, is it in relation after I've analyzed the docket and was of the view that they were intruders and pursuing that investigation? Perhaps if I can get it clear on that aspect.
Thank you. At any point after having read the statement and formulated your own view, or even before you could have formulated your own view. In other words, after receiving the case docket from the initial investigating team, did you ever go and interview the people who were in the house?
Not all of them, my lord. The people that I interacted with is Mr. Tumelo Madlala, Mthokozisi Twala, and Longo Twala, my lord. Then thereafter, another person that we interacted with was Miss Makumalo. In other words, the mother of the Kumalos, the two sisters, my lord.
Abantu engakhulumisana nabo ke noma ke engaya kubona ke kwaku uTumelo Madlala, Mthokozisi kanye noLongwe Twala, omunye futhi ke kwaku Makumalo okusho ukuthi ke uma uKheli kanye naye ke uZandi.
Oh, I forgot, my lord. Also Miss Zandi Kumalo.
Naye ke uZandi Kumalo.
It is Miss Kelly Kumalo that I did not interact with, my lord.
Umuntu engazange ngikhulumisana naye ke kwakuyena Miss Kelly Kumalo.
Now, you said what is the reason why you did not go and interview Miss Kelly Kumalo?
My lord, as I said, I mean, if you look at the confessions, she was cited as a trigger point. And as I said, it was procedural driven. You obtain these things, you share with the NPA, and you get guidance as to who you can approach and who you can talk to, my lord.
Imbangela ke noma izathu sokuthi ke ngingakhulumi ke naye uMiss Kelly Khumalo uma ubheka ke istatement ke esogonyululo ke esenziwa esasikhomba kuyena ke ukuthi uyena ke owayesemuva kwakho ke lokho noma ukuthi bengishilo ke ukuthi ke uma unalokho okutholayo uyahamba ke uye kulabo abashuthisayo bese kuba yibona ke abakutshelayo ukuthi ukhuluma nobani ungakhulumi nobani.
Hence, my Lord, insofar as the approach towards her, the position that I wanted to adopt is through that application that 8225, when I made an application for the J50. That was my approach towards trying to interact with her, insofar as the evidence and allegation that were contained towards her.
Eyami ke indlela yokuthi ke ngizame ukuthi ngikhulume naye ke noma ke ngihlangane ke naye iyona ke le engithola ubufakazi ngayo yayo iJ50 noma ke incwadi ke leyana ngangisicelo kuyona ukuthi ke aboshwe ke ngabo ubufakazi.
Thank you, Brigadier. Now, having interviewed Madlala, Ntogozitwala, Longwe, Makumalo, and Zandi, were you then satisfied that what you had interviewed them about vis-a-vis the contents of their statements was in the same line? Actually, there was signage there.
Yes, I was. The essence of it, my Lord, there was a signage in that they were intruders. That was the bottom line. But if one looks at, the defense has seen the statements. There were statements that were made over and over again, trying to explain certain things, inconsistencies, Makumalo, even the issues of the ID parade. So there were a lot of things. But the essence of my interview, my Lord, was not to retake the statements, but it was really just to confirm that the statements made in the docket, they stand by them, and the issue of them standing to the assertion that indeed they were intruders that came into the house.
Manje ke usukhulume naye ke uTumelo Madlala, Mthokozisithwala, uLongwethwala, uMakhumalo kanye noZandi ke ube usuthola ke ukuthi impela khona ke ukuhlangana kulokho ke owawubheka. Yebo ke ngoba ke kwakhona ke inkulumo ezazikhona ke ukuba kungahlangani ke khulunywa ngawo ke ama ID parade abameli bayakwazi ke lokho kodwa ke nje egcineni yebo unobheka ke futhi ukuthi ngabe lokho okubhaliwe kuyitatimende sako zabo basamile yini kuona impela ke kwatholakala ukuthi yebo babe khona noma babe khona abantu abangena lapho ngalelo langa.
Thank you. Was that the only consideration that you had to interview these witnesses for, just to determine whether or not they were intruders?
The other aspect, my Lord, when I spoke to and I dealt with this part with Mr. Madlala and Mr. Twala, Mthokozisithwala, was in relation to the ID parade, where they said, I think Mr. Madlala said he is 50-50, is not certain that he can, and Mr. Twala, this is now Mthokozisithwala also saying he's not sure. I think that is the other aspect out of that discussion where we were intending or thinking of pursuing an identity parade, and I think that's related to that, my Lord. Statements were obtained and attached and discovered to the defense as well to this effect.
Okunye futhi ke okukhuluma naye ke uTumelo Madlala kanye noMthokozisithwala mala nokuthi ke kiwe ke kwi parade noma ke kukhomba parade ID parade la asho ke khona ke uTumelo Madlala ukuthi yena ke u50-50 mala nokuthi angakhomba noma angakhombi naye ke uMthokozisithwala esho ukuthi ke akanaso isiqiniseko sokuthi ke angakhomba ke uma engaya kuyona itatimende zabo zathathwa ke nabameli bayinika.
That's what I recall at this stage, my Lord.
Iloko ngikukhumbulayo.
So another consideration was, the second consideration over and above the determination on whether they were intruders or not, was the issue of the ID parade, which had to do with the identity of the intruders, not so. Of the alleged intruders, not so.
Yes, but the correct context, my Lord, the consideration insofar as to whether they were intruders or not was not based on the statements of what the people who were in the house were saying or the interview. It was formed before I spoke to them. I made that decision based on the facts that I spoke about independently from them. When it was clear that they were intruders, it was part of the investigation to align the investigation, not to get an opinion as to whether they were intruders or not. I had already formed that decision based on the objective evidence that I related to, my lord, earlier.
Ukhuluma ke nabantu itatimende lezi-ke kwangasikona-ke ukuthola manje ukuthi kwaba khona abantu abangena noma cha. Lokho ke ngiqedile-ke ngako ngifinyelele kona-ke ngokobufakazi-ke enganginabo mina-ke. So uma ngiyabona-ke kwangasikona ukuthola ukuthi bakhona yini abantu abangena noma cha. Mina-ke ngikutholile lokho.
In other words, my lord, at that stage, I was convinced they were intruders. It wasn't to ascertain that. I was convinced. It was simply just to ascertain that they are still around, for example, because you can't build on the case when you don't know whether your witnesses are still around. Are they in a good and health position? Should you want to pursue the matter? Will they be able to come and give evidence if the matter takes that direction? So you ascertain to know who is available and who is not available. And that is why at that stage, the discovery of Mr. Makaleni as being the deceased also came up at that stage, because I was, and as well as Mr. Ngashe Sina, as him being passed on. Those were found out at that stage, because it was not only the Kumalos, it was just to look at critical witnesses as to where they are and what is their status in terms of being healthy and life and death situation, my lord.
Futhi-ke ngaleso sikhathi leso kwakuwuqinisekisa-ke nokubheka ukuthi ofakazi laba basekhona-ke bakuyiphi indawo, ingabe isimo sabo-ke sezempilo sikanjani-ke. Ingakho-ke ngoba-ke angeke uqhubeke phambili necala-ke ofakazi bengekho, noma ungazi ukuthi isimo sofakazi bakho sihamba kanjani. Ingakho-ke kwatholakala ngaleso sikhathi leso ukuthi-ke umnumzana uMakeleni akasekho kanye futhi naye-ke ubaba uNcatshe.
Yes, my lord, that's my answer.
Thank you. Brigadier, my question is very simple. The second reason why you went to see or to interview these witnesses was in relation to the identity of the perpetrator or of the alleged intruders, not so?
No, not so, not so. You see, that is why, my lord, it's important to explain. I was specific that with regard to the issue of the identity, it was only Mr. Twala and Mr. Tumelo Madlala that I interviewed. Hence, I said statements were obtained and they were attached in the docket. I did not relate to everyone.
Ingakho-ke kubalulekile ukuchaza-ke ngoba ngishilo ukuthi mayelana nodaba leli lokho ukuthi kuhanjwe-ke kuyokhonjwa phecelezi-ke i-ID parade. Ngakhuluma-ke noTumelo Madlala kanye naye-ke uMthokozisi Thwala, ngasho-ke nokuthi ney'tatimende mayelana nalokho zathathwa-ke futhi zikhona-ke zingxenye yedokodo nabameli bayithola.
Thank you. Maybe we were miles away from each other, but let me bring you very near. At the inception of this trial, the state made an opening address to the court and said to the court, at the core of this trial, it is the identity of the perpetrators, or what you refer to as the intruders. The state further told this court that this trial will be about determining. It did not say exactly what I'm saying, I'm paraphrasing the state, that the duty of this court or of this trial will be to try and get to know who the perpetrators who committed these offenses were. That is what I'm trying to say. Do you understand?
I understand, my lord.
Thank you. Now, you are saying we had already formulated a viewpoint that they were intruders.
That's correct, my lord. Before, yes. That view was I came to that conclusion, my lord, after analyzing the docket and before interviewing anyone.
Yebo kuyiqiniso ngishilo ukuthi mina-ke ngase ngitholileke ukuthi ngempela babekhona-ke abantu abangena lapho emuva kokuthi sengithe ngacubungula lona-ke idokodo leli ngaphambi kokuthi ngikhulume nomuntu noma kube khona umuntu engikhuluma naye.
Now, the second consideration why you had to go and interview these witnesses, you say you had to go and find out whether or not Madlala and Mthokozi Sithwala would be able to identify those that are referred to as the alleged perpetrators, not so, who got into the house, not so?
Yes, in the event an ID parade is held, my lord.
Yebo kuyiqiniso ke ngaya kuyena ke uTumela Madlala kanye naye ke uMthokozi Sithwala ngelithi uma kuukuthi ke kungathatha isinqumo ke sokuthi ke kube ne-ID parade noma kuyokhonjwa ke ukuthi bangakwisimo yini sokuthi ke bangabakhomba.
Why did you have to limit your inquiry on whether or not they will be able to identify the alleged perpetrators to Madlala and Mthokozi Sithwala and not extend it to all the adults who were in the house?
My lord, firstly, you look into what people say in their statements. That's number one. But two, you are guided. As I've said, this was a prosecutorial-driven investigation as to who you can pursue for what purpose. It's not a willy-nilly type of an approach. So that was the guidance that the investigation was taking, and hence those two were approached, my lord.
Kwakungani ke ukuthi ke kube uTumela Madlala noMthokozi Sithwala kuphela ke abantu abayokhulumisana nabo ke mayelana nalolu daba lokuthi ke bangakhomba noma cha, ngishilo ke ukuthi ke noma ke okokuqala uyabheka ke ukuthi ke abantu noma ofakazi bathini ke kuyitatimende zabo, ngishilo ke nokuthi futhi ke ukuthi ke lana ke bekuthi uma unobufakazi uyahamba ke uye kulabo abashushisayo bese bekutshela ukuthi ubani ungaya kuyena ungayi kuyena mayelana nani noma mayelana naluphi udaba. Kwakungasikhona nje ukuthi ke uyazenzela ke lokho ufuna ukuthi ukwenze.
Thank you. Now, you're speaking about the fact that this was a prosecutor-driven investigation, and you mentioned the names of Advocate Juliet Mahwata, Advocate L.B. Leonard, and the Honorable Advocate George Baloyi, who's the lead prosecutor in this case, not so?
It is so, my lord.
Ngikhulumile ke ngabo ke abameli noma ke ama-advocate labo abalile Mahwata u-Advocate Baloyi ekuyena ke ohola ke ithimba elishushisayo ke kuleli cala kuyiqiniso.
Are you then saying, Brigadier, that the reason why you did not extend the inquiry as to the ability to be able to identify the alleged intruders who got into the house to the other members who were in the house as well, was because the team of prosecutors who were leading you did not give you specific instructions to go and find out from them whether or not they'll be able to identify these people?
No, what I'm saying, my lord, is that such was discussed. You get guidance as to who you can pursue based on the facts that are before court. I mean before them in terms of the dockets, and you pursue it accordingly. For example, my lord, let me deal with Ms. Kelly Khumalo. At that stage, when we had sight of all the accused, Ms. Kelly Khumalo was already now, it was alleged that she was a trigger point. How do you pursue such a person when there's allegation against her? Because in the main docket, prior to us having sight of this accused, she was a witness whom her phone was stolen. Subsequent to that, investigation is done. She's now fingered as a trigger point. How do you pursue that? I mean, it does not take even a genius to see that even you can't. She's a person of interest. Therefore, investigation must be done either to corroborate or disapprove those facts. Unfortunately, the investigation proved otherwise, and I spoke about that, including the application. That's the first aspect. The second one, my lord, and we dealt with this part in relation to Mr. Longetwala. There was a bag, and I've explained that issue of the bag that was seemingly common, a see-through bag of money that was found in his bag, and his cell phone downloadings, as well as that of Ms. Kelly Khumalo and Advocate Mrs. Client, accused 3. So there are questions there as well. You need to look into that objectively. How do you use that person? Mrs. Khumalo Senior, initially, right at the inception of this matter, when I was not involved, the first investigation team, there was an ID parade held, and the wrong person was identified and arrested, arraigned, and eventually the case fell apart. So you take those things into consideration when you want to conduct an ID parade. You can't be oblivion to ignore those facts because they are critical, my lord, as to who do you call to attend an ID parade.
Ingabe manje uthi ke isinqumo ke sokuthi ke laba abanye ke kungayiwa kubona ke ingoba ke manje kwashiwo ke noma basho bashushise kuwena ukuthi cha bona ke angayiwa noma bangabhekwa ke cha uzokhumula ukuthi ke eqaleni ke ukuthi uMiss Kelly Khumalo ke mangangaya kuyena ke ngiqonde kuyena ke ukuthi ke waye ufakazi manje ke sekuvela ke manje istatement sekukhonjwa kuyena ke ukuthi manje naye useya asoleka ke uya kanjani ke kumuntu onjalo ulongwethwala kunalesikhwama ke semali esasikhona kumakhala ekhukhwini wakhe sikhona ke nakuyena ke uMiss Kelly Khumalo kanye futhi ke nakuloyo uMr noma advocate Mnisi amele manje ke uzoya kanjani ke kuyena ukuthi umsebenzisi naye ke uMakhumalo okuyena ke mama kaKelly ke eqaleni ke noma ke ithiba leli lokuqala elaliphenya khona ke ID parade eyayikhona ke lapho wakhomba ke umuntu engasiyena ke umuntu loyo wayovela ke enkantolo kodwa ke icala lelo alizange liye ndawo manje uyazibheka ke lezo zinto noma into ezikanjani.
Are you done, Brigadier?
Yes, I'm done, my lord.
Thank you. My question, Brigadier, is you only approached Madlala and Mthokozi Sithwala about a possibility of attending an identification parade. Now, my question was, why did you not also approach the Longwethwala, Makhumalo, Zandi, and Kelly, and find out from them as whether would they be able to attend an identification parade in order to possibly identify these alleged intruders? And your answer was, this was a prosecutor, it was a prosecutor guided investigation. Now, I asked you, would that be the reason, therefore, why you did not approach these other 4 other people who were in the house? Because prosecutors did not give you specific instruction to go find out from them whether or not they'll be able to identify these people who were in the house.
That's a good question, my lord. This has just answered the question. He mentioned that Ms. Kelly Khumalo was a trigger point and person of interest. Longwethwala, the issue of the see-through bag common to him, to Ms. Kelly Khumalo, and to accused number 3, and that Makhumalo identified the wrong person. Why is the question not being repeated, my lord? In fact, counsel is incorrectly just quoting one aspect of the answer that Brigadier Gininda gave. He's not referring to what Brigadier Gininda answered to what I've just quoted now.
As it please the court, my lord. Say, I am specifically referring to the period subsequent to you taking over the investigation. I'm not talking about what happened when the case was investigated by the previous team. We're talking about your era, the Gininda era, in the investigation of this case. Do you understand?
I understand, my lord,
Thank
and
you.
my answer is in relation to my presence, because prior to me coming on board, there was these accused before court were not cited as this assertion or the evidence that suggests that Ms. Kelly Khumalo was a trigger point was never there. In terms of the evidence, there was no statement except the assertion of the father of the deceased, and I refer to that, my lord, where at some stage accused four's name was cited, but then there's nothing that became of it. As many other people were cited, then it was a dead end. The answer that I'm giving, my lord, it refers to the time when I was leading this team, and this assertion I'm making it when I was now the lead investigator in this matter.
Impendulo enginikeza ngayo ke impendulo kangikhulume ke ngokwenzeka ke ngaphambilini ke ukuthi mina ke ngiphenye icala leli ngoba ke ngaphambi kokuthi kube yimina ophenyayo abasola laba abaphambi kwenkantolo akukho la abakhonjwa khona ke noma ekwakhulunywa ngabo khona ke ngaphandle ke kwala khona ubaba wakhe ke umufi akhuluma ke ngaye umsolo wakhe wesine kodwa akukho ke okwenzeka ke lapho kodwa manje uma ngiphendula ngikhuluma ngesikhathi mina sekuyimina ophenyayo.
Brigadier Gininda, let me put it this way. Subsequent to the arrest of the people or of the accused that are before court here and before their appearance at court, did you go to these people who were in the house and say to them, look, there are people that we have arrested that we suspect that they could have been involved in the case? Would you be able to attend an identification parade to go and see whether those that you saw on the 26th of October 2014 could be these ones that we have arrested?
My Lord, I've answered this part.
What was your answer?
My answer was that the only people I approach with that aspect, it's Mr. Thokozisi Twala and Tumelo Madlala. I've indicated why the others were not approached. And it will be incorrect, my Lord, to say the prosecutors are the ones who said don't do it. I simply cited that it was prosecutorial driven investigation, meaning you sit, you get guidance, but you also contribute because you talk with the prosecution. And I indicated why there was doubt insofar as other witnesses as to whether we can call them as witnesses to attend the ID parade or not. So I was simply giving basis that it was not simply an ignorance that we only selecting Tumelo Madlala and Thokozisi Twala. There were reasons on the others. If those reasons were there, the likelihood, my Lord, they would have been approached as well and asked, my Lord.
Ngikuphenduleke umbuzo lona kodwa ngizophendula ukuthi ngishilo-ke mayelana-ke nofakazi laba-ke ukuthi unganike kuyiwe-ke na-ke uTumelo kanye futhi naye-ke uMthokozisi nokuthi futhi akusilona-ke iqiniso ukuthi-ke abashushisi ibona bathatha leso sinqumo ukuthi uma-ke uphenya uyahamba uyokhulumisana nabashushisi nawe-ke unovo lwakho olufakayo-ke noma-ke olushoyo kukona lokho. Ngichazile-ke nezizathu zokuthi-ke kungani-ke abanye laba bona-ke kungayiwanga noma kungayanga kubona ngiyofuna ukwazi-ke ukuthi uma kungayiwa ku-ID parade bangaba khona yini.
But the ultimate decision, my Lord, lies with the NPA, as everyone knows, because they're the ones who knows how the docket must be prepared as they will be prosecuting it. So all I was saying was that there was this discussion and that was the view that was adopted.
Kodwa-ke isinqumo-ke noma-ke ekugcineni-ke kuba-ke i-NPA noma-ke abashushisi-ke ekuyibona-ke abathatha leso isinqumo ngoba-ke ibona-ke abazoshushisa bayazi ukuthi idokodo-ke kufaneke libe kanjani.
That's my answer, my Lord.
Let us simplify this thing. Actually, it is very simple. Very simple. The question is, subsequent to the arrest, these accused persons that are before court, did you go back to the witnesses who were in the house and say to them, I have now arrested 5 people. I therefore would love you to attend an identification parade for you to go find out if you're able to identify 1, 2, or 3 of them as those people who got into the house on the 26th of October 2014. Did you do that?
My Lord, I'm saying, it's just that it's put in a wrong context because I don't have the date. I'm saying, when I had sight of this, Mr. Tumelo Twala was approached for a possible identity parade.
Right.
Not after the indictment, not after their first appearance on the 27th. I think the approach was before. And hence I was trying to find their statement to see that I refer to. But that approach relates only to Mr. Twala and Mr. Tumelo Madlala. The others were not approached and I've given reasons my notice to why.
Lana-ke bese ngishilo-ke lokhu bengibheka-ke nje manje-ke ama-dates ngoba-ke lokhu kwenzeka-ke ngaphambilini kokuthi-ke basola-ke bayobingelela-ke imantshi ilanga leli-ke abayovela ngalo enkantolo bekubheka nje ama-dates ukuthi-ke ngaya-ke kuTumelo Madlala kanye naye-ke uMthokozisi Twala abanye-ke angiyanga kubona izathu-ke ngiyishilo ukuthi kwakungani.
Thank you. Let's start with Madlala. When you approached him with a request to attend an identification parade, what did he say?
My Lord, I think he said 50-50. He said it happened a long time ago, but if I try to recall his statement, He said something to the effect that he's not sure. I think he may have used to say 50-50 because it happened some time ago.
Uma saqala kuyena ke uTumelo Madlala ngicabanga ukuthi washo ke ukuthi ke kade senzeka ke isigameko lesi aka ngako ke ungabaza ngicabanga ukuthi wasebenzisa ke igama lokuthi ke 50-50.
Thank you. What did Mthokozi Sithwala say?
I think he said also he's not certain, my lord. There was no refusal to say they can't identify, they were just not certain, my lord.
Ngicabanga ukuthi nayo ke unaye washo ke Mthokozi Sithwala ukuthi ke akanasiqiniseko kwangasibona ukuthi cha babenqaba kodwa kwakukusho nje ukuthi bengenayo isiqiniseko sokuthi bangakhomba.
Thank you. And you are saying the reason why you did not go to Longwe, it's because in Longwe's phone there were some downloads or some photos of bags of money that were similar to the downloads that were found in accused number 3's bag. Therefore, you decided to exclude Longwe on those bases.
I'm not sure if you say like I said, my lord, it was prosecutorial driven. It was not unilateral decision. At that stage, we were working hand in glove with the prosecution, my lord, and you get guidance.
Uma uthi ke kwakuyimina ke lokho kushoyo ukuthi ke isizathu sokuthi ngayike kulongwe ngoba ke kwakunese isinqumo sathatha ngoba ke kwakunelesa sikhwama semali esasitholakala nakuyena makhala ekhuphini number 3 ngishilo ngathi ke kwakukhulumisana nokubonisana ke nalabo ke abashukisayo.
So are you then saying that yourself, with the 3 prosecutors, were of the view that it is not necessary for you to approach Longwe to find out if you'd be able to identify any of the accused person?
I beg your pardon, my lord, sorry, I didn't understand the question. My apologies, I didn't follow the question, my lord. If it can be repeated, sorry.
Brigadier Keninda, the reason why you are unable to follow my questions, I'm talking here and then you're busy doing something. You're paging through your documents there. If you can just listen to me, and then from there, you'll be given indulgence to look for whatever that you're looking for. For now, can you please listen to my question?
Yes,
Thank you.
lord.
My question is, are you then saying that it was your decision, yourself and the team of prosecutors, that you should not approach Longwe because in his phone there were some photos that were found which were similar to those that were found in accused number 3's phone downloads?
I'm saying, my lord, the authority to guide investigation, especially when NPA is involved, lies with the NPA. That's the ultimate authority.
Ngithi ke engikushoyo mina ukuthi ke igunya ke lokuthi ke uma ukuthi uphenyo luhamba kanjani ke lu kwi NPA ilabo ke abashushisayo.
Thank you, Brigadier. I'm saying to you, we are going to simplify this thing. And it's going to be very tedious, but very simple. With regard to Mr. Madlala, he said to you, he's unsure whether he'll be able to identify these people. It was a 50-50 situation.
Yes.
With regard to Mr. Twala, you said, Mthokozi Sithwala now, you said, he told you that he was not certain it was also a 50-50 situation. Now, with regard to Mr. Longwe, I'm asking you the same question. Now you are saying it was, the decision lies with the NPA. Is that your answer to my question?
No, I'm saying the ultimate authority, my lord, when it comes to prosecution, it's NPA. What I'm saying is that because the matter was prosecutorial driven, you get guidance and you were then guided as to who you can utilize for what purpose. And I gave reasons, my lord, as to why there were question marks or uncomfortability that Mr. Longwe specifically could be used. There was this part that needed investigation because you can't ignore the fact, my lord, that there's a person who is alleged to be one of the perpetrators, whom upon the downloading of the phone, a see-through bag of money is found, and that bag is found with someone who's supposed to be a witness. You can't ignore that material fact. You need to investigate and establish the position of this so this person is supposed to be a witness in relation to this now alleged perpetrator. You can't rely on that because that is already setting a mark. You can't ignore the fact that they're saying one of the person who's supposed to be your witness is a trigger point. You need to investigate. That's how objectivity is done. And you can't ignore what I've said about the murder as well. So it was those aspects, my lord, that I know played a role in our discussion with the NPA. But what I'm saying is that at the ultimate, which is the same as well when I tried to get a warrant for Ms. Kelly Kumalo, the ultimate decision makers is the NPA. Our powers are divided clearly, my lord.
Engikushoyo ke la ukuthi ke isinqumo ke sokuthi ke kwenzekani ke ingakho ngithi ke igunya ke likuyona ke NPA labo ke abashushisayo ke ingakho ke ngisho ke ukuthi ke ibona ke uma sikhulumisana sibonisana ke abashoyo ukuthi ke uyabani awuyi kubani ke ukhulumisana nobani ukhulumisana nobani nomuntu lana ke sikhuluma ngayo lo ngothwala okufanele ukuthi abe ufakazi kodwa ke lana kunomuntu omunye wabantu abakhonjwayo ukuthi ke ibona ke abenza isigameko lesi kuma downloads akhe kutholakala lelisaka elinemali naku yena ke lo okuthiwa ufakazi kuyatholakala awukwazi ke ukuthi ungashaya indiva ke lokho iloko ngikushilo ke nangaye uMakhumalo kanye futhi ke nangenkathi ke ngenza isicelo lesiya sokuboshwa kwakhe ke uMs Kelly Khumalo ngishilo ke ukuthi ke isinqumo sabuya kuphi.
Thank you. That is exactly what I'm putting it to you. That because of all those factors that you have now enumerated, yourself and the team of prosecutors who were guiding you then took a viewpoint that it was not necessary to go and request and talk to Mr. Longe about an identification parade, not so?
A decision, yes, was taken, my lord. I'm not sure if that word not necessary, but the decision was taken that he should not be approached for the identity parade.
Isinqumo sathathwa ke sona ke ukuthi ke akungayiwa ke kuyethu lo ngothwala ukuthi ke kuyokhulunywa ngaye mayelana ke nokuyokhomba noma i-ID parade.
Thank you, Brigadier. Now, let's come to Makhumalo, the mother of the house.
Yes, ma'am.
Why, like Madlala and Mthokozisi Twala, was she not approached for a possible identification parade immediately after the arrest of the 5 accused persons that are before court here?
Well, my lord, so, and I've said this, my lord, at the inception, rather at the beginning, when I was not involved in this matter, back in 2014, I think it might be earliest 2014, yes, I think it was in 2014, there was an ID parade that was held where one suspect, Mr. Mbata, was actually identified by Makhumalo Senior. And I know that was the fact that actually was concerning as to whether we can utilize her in light of that or not. And that person, my lord, as I've said, it's not something that is hidden, was arrested, placed into custody, detained. I think the matter was remanded for formal bail application when evidence then came through that is actually it could not have been one of the perpetrators.
Ngokumayelana naye ke uMakhumalo ukuthi kwakungani ke ukuthi yena ke uyokhulunyiswa ke mayelana nayo ke i-parade lena ke ngishilo ukuthi ngaphambilini kokuthi ke ngiphenye icala leli kwakungo 2014 ukuthi ke kune-ID parade yayikhona ke la uMakhumalo wakhomba khona ke ngicabanga ukuthi kwakuwumbatha ke waye eseboshwa ke uma kuzokwenziwa icelo sayo ke ibail ila kwakungufakazi obeza khona ukuthi cha kwakungasiyena ke.
So what does that have to do with a request to go for an identification parade in respect of this accused person that you just arrested?
I don't understand, my lord. You have a person who has identified a wrong person, and that person gets arrested, his constitutional right is deprived, sits in jail, and thereafter it is found that is a wrong person. I'm not so sure whether Advocate Mnisi says you can still rely on that particular witness. if I understand him correctly, which I doubt if that's what he's saying, my lord.
Angazi noma umbuzo lo ngiwuzwa kahle-ke ngoba la unomuntu noma ufakazi-ke manje uhambile wayokhomba umuntu kwatholakala ukuthi cha lo muntu amkhombile akusiyena-ke umuntu lona-ke manje usenqatshela noma usevinjwa-ke amalungelo akhe-ke wahamba wayohlala esitokisini kwatholakala ukuthi cha lo muntu akusiyena-ke. So angazi noma ngizwa kahle-ke noma uma esho uthi Mr. Mnisi usungaphinde futhi uncike kufakazi onjalo.
Thank you, Brigadier. To understand you, you're saying that you were afraid that Mrs. Makumalo would have attended the identification parade and said, no, the person who resembles the person, one of the people who resembles one of the people who got into the house, I had already identified him at the initial identification parade, and he is not one of these that are appearing at this identification parade, referring to this accused person that are before court. Were you afraid of that?
No, my lord. No, I was not afraid of that. My lord, when you do investigation, and this is how I understand it, it's at the end of the day, and it doesn't matter where the truth lies, my lord. If the truth is at the behest or at the interest of the suspects, you need to reveal it. But you cannot flout rules and do something that you can see that it's not in the interest of justice in general. Now, Mrs. Kumalo Senior, I've already said, my lord, what has happened. How do you then, my lord, subject a person whom you are pursuing as a suspect to such environment? I think that will be unethical, my lord. You have a witness which you know, because it's proven, it was before my time, that this person identify a particular suspect because of that identification is then arrested, remanded into custody. When the police do a constructive investigation, they find that what was said to be the perpetrator is actually incorrect and that person is released. How do you then, as an objective person and investigator, my lord, want to subject another person who is suspected to be a perpetrator to that situation? I think it will not be in the interest of justice, even for the accused. So it was not just an isolated situation that I'm afraid of what he must say. Even the accused or the suspect himself, to expose that particular suspect to such an individual will be unethical and I think very much wrong. You can't do that, my lord.
Bese ngikhulumile noma ngishileke udaba noma ukuthi kwenzekani-ke ngaye-ke uMakhomala ngaphambilini kokuthi mina-ke ngiholeke ithimba eliphenyayo-ke lana hhayi nje ukuthi-ke lokho kwenzela mina-ke kodwa-ke nakubona-ke abasola noma-ke abantu laba ekufanele-ke ayobakhomba-ke ukwenza kanjani ukuthi-ke umuntu ayokhonjwa-ke umuntu osekhombe umuntu kwatholakala kulo muntu amkhombile ukhombe umuntu ekungasiyena kuzotholakala ukuthi-ke kwenza into-ke engafanelekile uma wenza ngaleyo ndlela.
Brigadier Kininda.
Sorry, my lord, just to complete this point here. Sorry, no, sorry, Mr. Minister, to speak up. I was not done. So it is different, my lord, when perhaps, let's say a person is identified in the ID parade, but there are no consequences after that. In other words, investigation is done and the person is, is eliminated. But when a person is identified, then subsequent to the identification, then the person loses his freedom or her freedom in terms of incarceration because of the reliance on that identification. I think it will really be unjust if you want to subject, I wouldn't want to do that, another person to the same environment with the hope that this person now may not point this person. Because what happens then if you point this person and then it turns out later in the investigation that you are sitting with a similar situation, my lord?
Futhi-ke manje-ke okwenzekayo-ke lo muntu usekhombileke kwatholakala ukuthi umuntu amkhombile akusiyena-ke uyaphinda-ke futhi sekuboshwe abanye-ke uzokhomba futhi utholakale uma sekuhamba isikhathi-ke ukuthi-ke kwenzeke kona lokho ebekwenzekile ngaphambilini.
Thank you, Brigadier. Should that not have been left to Ms. Makumalo to say, I don't think I'll be able to identify anyone at the identification or at the proposed identification parade, or to say, maybe this time I'll be able to identify one of the perpetrators who got into the house than for you to think for her?
I wasn't So, my lord, as I've said again, it was not my sole decision. The prosecution was involved. But to come back to the question, my lord, when you look at the interest of justice, that's not how Eglisa was taught, my lord. Interest of justice applies both sides. You don't look at Makumalo only and ignore the rights of the people you are pursuing. That is why I'm saying, my lord, even if evidence was to come up that supports the suspect at that stage, you need to make it available. And if they're exonerated, so be it, my lord. That is the systematic search for the truth. So I couldn't, and I'm talking about me, place myself in a position where I must subject this accused to a situation which I think would have been unjust based on what I already know has happened, my lord. I don't think that will be constitutionally correct, my lord.
Nanjengoba lokho besengikushilo ke ukuthi ke bese kwenzeke kanjani ke uma kuukuthi iqiniso kufanele liyaphuma ke awubheki nje iqiniso ke elizovuna wena ke uma iqiniso livuna labo ababoshiwe noma abasolwa ke lelo qiniso lelo kufanele livezwe ke noma lidalulwe ke manje ke akusiyona ke indlela engafundiswa noma engaqeqeshwa ngayo ke mina ke awukwazi ke manje ukuthi ke nalabo abasolwa kwenzeke lokho ebese kwenzekile kubona ngapha noma bese kwenzekile ngaphambilini kwenziwa uyena uMakhumalo.
Thank you. Now, to exclude Ms. Makhumalo in the participation of a possible identification parade was not because she could not identify, she told you that she could not identify a person, but it is because of the fact that she had already identified a wrong person in another identification parade, and that therefore the decision was taken by yourself and the prosecution team not to approach her with a possible identification parade. In summary, is that what you're saying?
In summary, the decision was taken not to approach him, my lord.
Thank you.
Parade.
Kafishane nje kwathathwa ke isinqumo sokuthi kungayiwa ke yena ke ngenhloso yokuthi ke ayokho.
Thank you. Zandi.
Yes, my lord. Similar.
What reasons were given by Zandi, or did you approach Zandi?
We spoke to Ms. Zandi, my lord.
Yes.
Yes.
About an identification parade.
About the case in
I'm talking about identification parade.
Yeah, okay. Can
Yes.
you just be patient with me?
Thank you.
I'll get there. I know you want to get to that parade. I can see you are eager. I'm getting there.
Because it is very interesting.
Yes, I'm getting there.
Yes.
I know you want me to go there very quickly.
Yes.
So, yes, my lord, she was approached, but the position as well, insofar as whether we can use her for the ID parade, as I said, it's guided by the prosecution. That decision was never communicated to me, my lord. But we had interaction with Ms. Zandi, quite a lot, including the consultation. The only thing that I can cite that was perhaps needed some clarity, and I'm not casting aspersion because we tried to look into it, my lord, and we couldn't find anything, was and we dealt with this records last week when I was under, was it last week or week before last, when I was under cross-examination by Mr. Ramsipil, where he made me read the communication between Zandi and the sister, and those communications of what was being said, I mean, they speak for themselves. So there was this clarity that, one was not sure as to whether, because if you listen to those communications, it is clear what is being said there between her and the sister. So that was a question mark, my lord, as to how far could this person know, honestly. But that, my lord, and this is the fundamental part, does not take away the fact that they were intruders. It is a different position insofar as the motive or the trigger point. But insofar as Ms. Zandi Khumalo, that was a question mark, to be honest, my lord.
Cabanga ukuthi ke nkathi ke bengihlonya imibuzo yena ke Mr. Ramsipile kunale milayezo ke noma kama SMS befundwa ke la enkantolo ke eyingxoxo ke zazikhona ke phakathi kwakhe ke Ms. Zandi Khumalo kanye naye ke usisi wakhe ke ayayikhulumela ke lawo ma message lawo ke ukuthi ke kuthiwani ke noma yini eshiwoyo ke khona lapho ngakho ke ngoqala naye ke Ms. Zandi Khumalo yayikhona ke imibuzo ke noma ke ama question mark ayekhona ke.
Brigadier Kininda. please help me to understand your answer. What is the reason why you did not approach Zandi for a possible identification parade after the arrest of these 5 people that are before court here? Just a very precise answer.
The precise answer, my lord, is that one, same with the others, there was a decision taken that she should not be approached for the purpose of the ID parade, although there was interaction between us and Ms. Zandi Kumalo. But insofar as the ID parade, that was not the position that was taken. But I'm saying, my lord, to support that, there was this question mark in terms of the communication between her and the sister as to what extent did she know, to be more precise, my lord. And I'm simply saying it was not coming from nowhere, my lord.
Engikushoyo-ke ukuthi lana-ke yebo kwakukhona-ke ukukhulumisana-ke phakathi kwethu-ke kanye naye-ke uMiss Zandi Khumalo, kodwa-ke akungekho-ke okwashiwo kumina-ke ukuthi-ke noma-ke bathathwa-ke isinqumo sokuthi cha angakhulunywa-ke naye-ke noma acelwe-ke mayelana nayo-ke i-ID parade. Bese ngiqhubeka-ke ngithi-ke kwakhona-ke lokho le communication yayikhona phakathi kwakhe nosisi wakhe-ke manje kukhona-ke le mibuzo noma lama-question mark ayekhona-ke kungaziwa-ke ukuthi wazi noma wayenolwazi olungakanani.
But I can say, my lord, sorry, Mr. Minister, I can say that up to today, there is no evidence that I was able to find that implicates her or give an indication that she may have known about, the trigger point of this matter, my lord. I did not find. Up to standing here, I don't have any assertion or evidence that suggests that she knew that the deceased would be killed or that there are people hired, my lord, except that discussion, my lord.
Kodwa-ke kuze kube manje nanjengoba ngimile-ke lana anginabo ubufakazi angaze ngitholeke ubufakazi ukuthi unolwazi noma wayenolwazi-ke lokuthi-ke umufi wayezoshona noma kwakunabantu-ke abatholwa-ke ukuthi-ke ababulale umufi. Akukho enginako.
I'm done, yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Brigadier. Now, very precisely to understand your answer, you are basically saying, like Longwe Twala, there was no specific instruction that came from the prosecution team that you should approach Zandi for an identification parade after the arrest of this accused. Not so?
No. A decision was not to approach, my lord. So the people that we did not approach, it's because the decision was not, let's not approach them for the purpose of an ID parade. Those that I approached, those two are the ones where there was a decision to say you can approach them for the identity parade. That is why, my lord, then the statements in relation to their response was then taken. For example, Mr. Twala, his statement was dated 25 October 2020. So it was even before they appeared in court where he was talking to this issue of the identity parade, because one would have wanted to do that before the court appearance, my lord. And I think with Madala, we may be sitting more or less around that date. But for Mr. Twala, it was before even the first court appearance, my lord.
Okwenzeka-ke ukuthi-ke isinqumo sathathwa-ke kulabo ababili uMadlala kanye noMthokozisi ukuthi akiwe-ke kubona-ke ngenhloso-ke yokuthi kukhulunywe nabo-ke ngayo i-ID parade. Nakulaba engayiwanga kubona-ke bathatha isinqumo-ke sokuthi cha akungayiwa noma kungakhulunyiswana nabo mayelana naso-ke isinqumo noma-ke udaba lokuthi kukiwe kwi-ID parade. Ingakho khona-ke ney'tatimende lana zabo labo ababili uMadlala kanye noThwala esikaThwala sona-ke isitatimende kwakungeyi-25 ka-October 2020 kwakungaphambi kokuthi-ke abasolwa bayobingelela imantshi enkantolo.
So you're basically saying the reason why you did not approach her, there was a specific instruction that came from the prosecution team that was leading this case that she should not be approached for an identification parade.
There was no direct, the way it's been put, my lord, what I can, how could I answer it? There was no decision that she should be approached for an ID parade. But Ms. Zandi Khumalo was interacting with me and the prosecution. So there was that communication and consultation that was taking place. But insofar as utilizing her as a witness in the identification parade, there was a decision taken that she should not participate or approach for that purpose, my lord. Not that not to approach it, because there was already engagement. That's why I'm saying the question, the way it's put, it's different where there is no interaction. There was interaction between us, subsequently the prosecution in terms of the consultation, where a position was not taken that she must participate or be one of the people who will participate in the ID parade. That is the only aspect where she was excluded. Not that, I don't know if I'm putting it correctly, my lord, but the point I'm going to is that there was no decision from the prosecution that she should be approached to attend or participate in the ID parade, as it was the position with Mr. Madlala and Mr. Twala, my lord.
Nanjengoba ke kuthwala ke naye ke uMadlala sasikhona isinqumo sokuthi bona ke kuyiwe ke bona ngenjongo noma inhloso ke i-ID parade. Yebo yena sasikhulumisana naye uZandi Khumalo, kodwa ke asikho isinqumo esabuya ke noma ke sathathwa ke ukuthi ke yena ke sikhulumisana naye ngayo i-ID parade uZandi Khumalo.
Thank you, Brigadier. You know the reason why I'm going through this exercise and basically wanting to understand you, what is it that you're actually saying? It's because at the end of it all, I'll be standing here, right where I am standing, requesting this court to follow my argument or to find that my argument makes sense, you see.
I understand.
So I will then not be in a position to do that if I don't understand what you are saying. Because part of that argument that is going to come later on is going to touch base a lot on what you're saying. So don't look at me and say, hey, Kantumni Sutini manje. He's taking me from Pilato to Pontius. No, it is because I want to understand you. You are then therefore saying now, it is not that there was a decision that was taken that you should not approach Zandi by the prosecution team. There was no decision that was taken. Actually, it was just a silent thing. Nobody said approach her. Nobody said do not approach her. Is that what you're saying?
No, my lord, maybe my lord, so that is clear, and I hear what Mr. Yes, is saying.
Yes.
Insofar as Kelly Khumalo, the mother, Zandi Khumalo, and Longwe, Twala, there was no decision from the NPA to say we must approach them for the purpose of the identity parade. That's the simple and narrow of it. Insofar as the two, Mr. Twala and Mr. Madlala, there was a decision taken that you can utilize this one for the purpose of the ID parade. Hence, my lord, when I went to them, they said 50-50 in terms of their recollection, and to that effect they gave statements, my lord. That is that I think I'm trying to be as specific as I can.
Ngokumala naye ke uma Khumalo uZandi Khumalo Kelly Khumalo noLongwe Twala ke asikho isinqumo esathathwa ukuthi akiwe kona mayelana ne-ID parade. Isithumelo Madlala umthokozi Sithwala sasikhona ke ukuthi akiwe ke kubona bekhulunyiswana nabo ke ngayo i-ID parade, ingakho ikhona ke nestatement zabo.
Now that sounds much better. At least I now know that with regard to Longwe, Makumalo, Zandi, and Kelly, there was no decision that was taken that they should be approached for a possible identification parade after these accused persons were arrested. That's so.
That is so, my lord.
Thank you. Thank you. Let us pause it there. My lord, I think it's almost time for lunch time. For the long adjournment, it's exactly 13 hours PM. PM stands for post-meridian. It means it's now in the afternoon, my lord. Yes. May I therefore request, in humble submission to God Almighty, my lord, that we can adjourn from now and then we'll be back to that will also serve the purpose to go to give Brigadier Kinina time to go and have a sip from the bottle that is sipping from. As it pleases.